What's the first thing women notice? Your face. That's why you got to take care of. Simple things like getting a haircut, grooming your face, and brushing your teeth is important. But there's one thing guys miss and that women always notice. It's when a guy isn't taking care of his skin. That's why I'm so excited to have T Channeling as a sponsor of today's video. T Channeling simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing you don't. Seriously, I don't think some of you believe me when I tell you how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of your life. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with an SPF 20 and a PM moisturizer. But and to make it dead simple for you guys, they provide an instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. But because T just sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description and get 40% off your first skincare system and free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll get 20% off for life. By the way, one of their new gift options is a silicone body scrubber, which is a $20 value and a complete game changer. Once you use this, you'll never go back to a regular loofah ever again. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today. What it do? Can you hear me okay? Mic check, mic check. Now we good?
Yeah, you good.
Good, man. Welcome, man. Happy Sunday to all the folks out there. It's a lovely day in paradise as long as you woke up. Always a good day, man. Shout out to Dedicated to My Children's Future. Dedicated one Lapeef Network membership. I want to thank you for that. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Angela Swift, Shannon Duncan, Christopher Matthews. Welcome, everybody. Dale Matthews. If you guys catch this on the replay, make sure you hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the sponsor, T Channeling, Uncomplicated Skincare for Men, 40% off, along with a free gift. And if you become a member, that link is on the site. You get 20% off for life. So this is for men's skincare. Excellent product. I use it daily, and I do have a daily routine that I do. They also got some other goodies too, man. They actually got the mask for the men. So they got things for us to make sure that we are looking youthful as we get older. It's not just the women, man. We can retain our youth as well. If you haven't already hit that like button, also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get into it, man. I just been watching everything that's been going on. And one of the things that came out was this 40 and fornicating. 40 and fornicating. It's happening. It's happening. It's a lot of things going on in the podcast space, as you guys have been hearing. I won't go dive into the messiness, but it did get me thinking about the messages that we put out, and even just some of the conversations that I've been having as of recently, man. It seemed like we in trouble. We are in trouble. I think the goal that everybody is focusing on seems to be from a place of selfishness. I don't think people are looking at the bigger picture. I think we have gotten away from a lot of traditions, a lot of values, a lot of principles. We're just reckless out here. So I thought this would be an excellent topic to go into. A lot of folks are against marriage. They equate marriage, unfortunately, to the contract. And in my opinion, I think marriage is bigger than just a contract. And so I think people are making excuses to be able to indulge into the reckless behavior that we see, right? And that's just me. That's just me, right? Um, we all are not perfect. And so I think that one of the things I do want to bring up is about who's giving the advice as well, because that's when a hot topic, are you even qualified to be able to speak on this situation? And Tony, what's his name? Tony Gaskins. Do have a couple clips from him. Well, mostly him today. I think he's highlighted. I think we do respect some men that stand on principle, that don't waver. One of the things I heard about DJ, I may not like DJ So Lovely, but one of the things that I heard is that she is who she is and she don't waver in her opinion. I heard the same thing about Hank. Hank is the same person on and off cam. So whether you agree with them or not, at least they are still standing on business as far as what they stand for. So you can't do nothing but respect it. So I'm looking to have a good conversation. Hopefully we'll be able to get Shannon there. Seeing how we only got one woman's voice as of right now in the panel, let's just make sure that we do be able to yield and give her the opportunity to be able to express. I don't want this to necessarily be a finger pointing thing, but I actually want to see if we can get somewhere, maybe some solutions, some solid advice, and hopefully somebody's able to gain something after we have this discussion. Won't be a long discussion, but we're gonna make sure we get to it and get right to it. All right. So if I do see it kind of going in a different direction, I will make sure I reel us back in so that we can achieve the goal that we set forth in the beginning. With that being said, I do have a video, a clip, and I'm gonna play. This is a married woman, and she says that she basically don't want to even give advice as a marriage woman because of the backlash that she receives. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up with this, and then we'll go ahead and unpack the 40 and fornicating. How's that sound? All right, let's do it.
Husband on a dating site. I talked about how he proposed to me after 10 months. I talked about how we got married. I sold my house, moved into his house. He bought me a Mercedes. I lived the kept lifestyle, and women were coming for me. And it blew my mind because I thought I was inspiring and helping women see, hey, this is possible. This is a thing. They didn't know I was a life coach. They didn't know I was a love coach. They just saw a Black woman bragging and trying to tell me, well, you need to make sure your name's on it. Oh, I would have never did that because you just never know what can happen. Like, I get it. We get it. Life happens. Things happen. But if you say you want to learn how to put yourself in a position to live a certain type of life, you do have to take risks. You also have to listen, and not listen to respond, but listen so that you can be helped.
Let's go ahead and get into it, man. So we have a married woman that attempted to give advice and she received such backlash, which had me thinking that is marriage the cheat code, right? Is marriage the cheat code for both men and women? Because we do receive a lot of backlash. And I'm just wondering, even though the world has shifted, should we be shifting how we view family, how we view marriage, and the advice that we give? So I'm going to open up the floor. Everybody, I'm going to start with you, Tyrone. What are your thoughts about the video and just trying to tie everything together?
I feel her on what she's doing, but it's in my opinion, it's the independent women movement. You know, they support all women except for like the housewife. They treat the housewife like an Uncle Tom, like she sold out the movement or something, you know? Like, you just gonna serve the man? Like, yeah, that's her husband. She's happy, you know? And I don't know, people think, I think there's a lot of 40-year-old children out here. You know, like, children only know what they want. They only know what they like. You know, like, marriage ain't never been about happiness. It's always been about duty. I think we touched on this last time. But it's always been about duty. Like, hey, I don't really like you like that no more, but we ain't gonna mess up this family. We got love and we're gonna build this legacy.
Okay. I do want to put another question out there. Is it wrong for a woman to want to marry for security? Because I did see somebody in the chat was curious as far as what she married for. So when you hear a woman says that she doesn't have to go out and do these masculine things, that she's taking care of. Is something wrong with that? Or is that like a benefit to marriage? Because, some women want men to take care of them and they're not married, which I have an issue with, right? I have no problem taking care of someone that's a wife, but these expectations, I mean, if a guy wants to do it, that's on him. But me personally, I don't feel like I'm obligated to have to do it. And then so often men are shamed. But I think that these women are privileged and they do get a lot of attention from men. And some men don't have a problem doing it based off of their looks or the value that they perceive them to have. But every guy's not going to do that. I mean, you have to be up under some covenant for some men to even boast to want to take care of you. But what are your thoughts about it? Because is it a bad thing for a woman to marry, to have a certain level of security that may seem to be materialistic to some folks?
I think that most women marry for security. Like, why else are we getting married if we don't want that covering? So, of course, like, we want the security from a man. We want the covering from a man. That's why we got married. I'm sure she married him because of that security. But that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the only reason. I think that was a part of the reason that she decided to marry him. But I say this all the time. I had more friends as a single woman than I did when I was married, right? My friends would show up and show out for me when I was single. When you get married, you don't have those same friends because, like Tyrone said, a lot of women look at marriage as like a duty or a job. Like, oh, you gotta make his plate, or oh, you have to ask your person, can you go out? Even in my last relationship, we literally did that. Like, hey, so-and-so Kyle, do you mind if I step out? Right. And I had friends that would be like, why you got to ask for his permission? And I'm like, it's not asking his permission. I was like trying to explain to them that when you're in a relationship, it's never about you. It's always about the other person. So that's about compromise and being respectful. And I think that we are not doing that anymore. And I think that goes to like how you were raised. Like, I saw my mama make my stepdaddy plate, like, right? So I think that certain things, like in my house, the men got their place first. It's still like that. Come to my house for Thanksgiving, go to my mom's house, they're going to make all the men plates. My brother and them, they're getting their food first. So I think
the way it's always been done.
I think that a lot of people somehow just got away from that. It like when Destiny's Child came out with Independent Women back in 2001, the whole world went crazy, right? And I think that none of them are independent. All of them have husbands, and people don't look at that, right? They don't realize that this is just like, I know a lot of rappers who say, I don't even do drugs, right? But they sing about it every day. So I think that people have to be more responsible with their words and stop contradicting people and just stop listening. I listen to people that are married, right? I try to surround myself with people that are in long-term relationships, in a relationship, married. I don't want to be around nobody that's not living a life that I want to live. So if it's possible, the majority of my friends are in relationships. I tell people that all the time. I meet guys, they be like, where are your friends? They married. Right? So I think that, but men have to hold themselves to that same standard.
If I could piggyback on what you're saying, my bad for interrupting. I think as a dude, with the right woman, being able to say my woman doesn't have to work, that's a flex. That's a flex, especially if she's like doing right and making you look good. Like I think about LeBron's wife. You know what I mean? Like that looks like black excellence to me. Them two together.
All right, go ahead, Aisha. Will you finish?
I mean, that was pretty much, I'll land my plane. I just think that it is true. Like, women definitely hate on other women that are in relationships, that are married, that are submissive to their partners. I know women that don't even like the word submissive. Like, they don't even want you to don't say that word to them because it makes them feel low or beneath them, right? But as previously stated, that comes with how you were raised. Some of these women, they mamas was crackheads. Like, I'm starting to realize that, like, they mamas was the crackheads in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s. These were these people's parents. These women are crack babies. These BBL bandits are crack babies. So you can't expect them to have the same level of consciousness as everyone else. I'll land.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Will. Let me get you in there, brother. What are your thoughts about the conversation that's been having just on the video, tying it in all together?
Hope y'all doing well today. My name is Will Maybon. I go by picking and choosing on my social platforms, and that's just what people do. They pick and choose all day, every day. So to address the first thing about security, women today want to tout or make it known that a man should be a protector and a provider. Well, that's a source of security. When a man is providing for you, when a man is protecting you, that's a source of security. But then on the same hand, they contradict themselves because they think it's a belittling effort for a woman to put herself in a position where a man is her source of security. You should marry a man for security. If you don't marry a man for security, you take away his primary objective of what he's trying to provide in your life. So when you remove that component, you introduce a lot of other components of bickering, resentment, arguing, fighting. The value proposition disappears, and therefore people then don't know how to value each other. I have an interesting take on value that most people don't share. Most people think, but let me answer this other question. I'll share that real quick. So it was about the idea of, like, when you said, is it Aisha? Or Aisha? Aisha. So, like the women said, you got to ask your man before you blah, 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 before you leave or do something. Imagine if we were like a couple, just random couples, right? You with your husband, I'm with my woman or whatever. And we live respectively in our houses. And one of us decided we were going to go somewhere. And it was just the norm for us to just walk out the door. Don't even say anything. You just leave. You go into the grocery store. She's going to the grocery store. She don't even tell you where she's going. She don't tell you how long she's going to be gone. She just leave. You have no idea where she's at, when she'll be back. You don't know who she's with, what she's doing. And same for you. When I want to just leave, I just leave. Like, how chaotic would that be? People think you keep it tight. Oh, you got to check in. Why you got to check in? Why he always in your business? Well, a man needs to know where his woman is because, again, he's her security. Can you imagine not ever knowing where your children are? Your children just leave the house whenever they want to leave the house. They go wherever they want to go, and they're gone for however long they're gone for. That will have parents on pins and needles in fear, concern, frustration, anger. So it just makes sense to keep your significant other in the loop as to where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, when you'll be home. Keeps that person at bay, keeps that person at ease. But hey, everybody wants this independence. They want this autonomy to do what they want whenever they want. They don't want no scrutiny, nobody to have any opinion about what it is that they do. But that's the enemy of being in a relationship. You get into a relationship to get rid of that lifestyle. But see, most people, and I don't know if it's a big deal with men, but I know it's a big deal with women. They live in that duality of they want that independence, but they also want that security. Independence is the enemy of security. Security takes away your independence because you are then relying on someone else. Like dignitaries, presidents, politicians, they have security. They don't walk around, just go where they want to go, do what they want to do whenever they want to do it. People need to know where you are, who you with, what you're doing, when you'll be back. The last point I want to make that point about value I was saying, right? So I was on live last night and I was talking to these folks about value. Actually, no, not last night, night before last. And I was asking people if they knew. I said, little girls start to value little girls as little boys. So it makes sense that boys end up growing into men and they know how to value a woman. But women don't know how to value men because girls were never taught to value boys. You can ask any woman on planet Earth, what is the value of a boy? And they wouldn't be able to tell you. Then they expect that faucet to turn on and the light bulb to go off when they get married. They think they'll automatically know how to value someone because now I'm married and I'm intentional and yada, yada, yada. But this is the tricky part about value. So Aisha, if you and I were in a relationship and let's say you check all of my boxes and I check all of your boxes, people would think I value you because you check my boxes. And they would think you value me because I check your boxes. And truthfully, that's how people operate. But that's the wrong way to operate. I'm not supposed to value you because you check my boxes, because that would make me selfish. That means I'm valuing you because of what you do for me. But if I truly valued you, I value you because of what I want to do for you that fills your love tank. If you tell me you need quality time, but I don't give you the quality time, I give you everything else in the world but the quality time, you won't feel valued. So therefore, I don't value you because I'm not giving you the things that you need. You value people by giving them what they need, not because they check the boxes that makes you happy. Last point I make on the value, so I'll probably land the plane. If you buy a car, brand new car, you love it, and you service that car when it's supposed to be serviced, you put the right type of gas in it, you rotate the tires, you clean the car, you vacuum the car, you wash the car, you're giving the car what it needs to maintain and function. That's because you value it. But if you only use the car for what it can do for you, get you from point A to point B, you're not rotating the tires, you're not adjusting the brakes or the rotors, you're not changing the windshield wipers, not changing the oil, the transmission fluid, not putting the proper gas in it, you don't value the car. You're just selfishly using the car for the temporary thing that it can do for you in that moment. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
I'll let my...
All right.
Sorry.
I'm going to get it. Nah, you're all good. Go ahead, Hank.
Oh man, you know you dead wrong. You done equated these women to cars and children. Yeah, these heifers gonna have a goddamn fit. But as far as the situation, what was the question again, JR? I'm sorry. I kind of missed it.
It could be off the video. Just kind of tied it in. I did ask a couple questions. One of the questions was, is it wrong for a woman to want to seek security in other ways outside of what we perceive to be security, right? Sometimes it may be like materialistic things. She don't have to go out and work as hard. The other thing that we presented at the table was the young lady was speaking about how she doesn't give marriage advice anymore because she receives a lot of backlash for for every time she speaks on the things that she received because she is married. So that's all we just opening up for right now.
So as far as the video, I don't know, and it's more so for the ladies than anything, that they feel some type of way if their friends say, like I think she was saying in there, oh, you're gonna serve him his food? Yeah. Ladies, don't be bothered by them women, because they have no level of understanding. The woman they don't have to be in a marriage. I mean, just in a relationship, they just don't understand. Even in your relationship, it's still different from a marriage. We all know this. A relationship is different from a marriage. So they have no level of understanding. So I remember a good friend of mine, Aisha, says, my ideas and view are archaic. She said that I have an archaic way of thinking because I don't like my woman wearing a lot of makeup, and I make her clean and cook for me and do all these things. My buddy, I still respect and appreciate her, but she said this about me. But like I was sharing with her before, I don't worry about what people think or say. As long as my wife is good with what she's doing, how I treat her, how she's being taken care of, my expectations for her, and just like her expectations of me, we good. So on the outside looking in, we shouldn't be worried about what other people thinking. That's like when we was talking about Michelle Obama, and I sit there and said, look, I don't even want a reason for her, because if they are having problems within their marriage, that's between them and Barack. We really don't need to know about all of that. Now, I agree that it was disrespectful for not being there, but if they do have an issue, it shouldn't be for the public. So we don't need to be worrying about what the public thinks about what's on the outside looking in. It's cold on the outside looking in because they don't have what we have. You understand what I'm saying? Aisha, you and your future husband don't have what you have. JR and his future wife don't have what he has. Viz and his old lady don't have what they have. We can't worry about what other people think about our relationship. Now, if I'm out there whooping her goddamn ass, I'm physically, emotionally, and mentally, then okay. People have every right to say, man, Hank, you dead wrong. You should be putting hands and feet on that woman. You shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be putting hands and feet on that woman. You shouldn't be doing that. But if that's not the case, I don't worry about what people on the outside think of my relationship. As long as everything's on the up and up, she's well taken care of. She's not out here saying I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing to her. It's all good. And people just need to not stop allowing people on the outside involving themselves in a relationship. Like I said all the time, man, it's a circle of two with me and my wife. It's not for everybody to know what's going on with us, what our problem is. She's not going to speak ill about me on public like that, and I'm not going to do her. I'm not going to do her like that. Even with my ex-wife, I didn't go on social media when we got divorced and all. I didn't do all that. I don't believe in that shit. And she didn't do me the same way. I don't believe in it. And even when we wasn't on good terms, I didn't do that. That's not my style. And fortunate enough, I picked a woman that's not her style either. So we don't do that. It's not for everybody to know. And when it did happen, everybody was surprised because they didn't see it coming because we didn't put our shit out the street. Not like other people like to do. They'll go through a rough period. They have one goddamn argument and everybody in the world knows it. 2 hours later, they all lovey-dovey again. Well, hold on, bitch. What just, you was just cussing this dude out. Now y'all BFFs. What type of shit? Should have never been out there. So just hold tight to what you need to hold tight. Respect what you need to respect in y'all sanctuary and y'all relationship, and just move accordingly. That's what I say.
Okay, we're going to get Angela now. What's going on, Angela?
Hey y'all! Hello everybody! Shout out to Biz.
Oh, how you doing?
Hello. I know I'm respectful. He's married. Okay.
What's good, Andy?
How y'all doing this Sunday? Hold on, let me walk real quick.
Okay.
Let me get in a safe zone.
Shout out to Biz.
I'll start. All right. The topic today, is that what we're discussing?
Yeah, so I'm just now opening it up right now. We did have a young lady that came on, and she's married, and she spoke about how she received backlash for speaking about her marriage and the things that she received. Some of the things may sound materialistic to some folks, but tying it all into the message that we putting it out there. I know we sometimes talk about marriage, but there's a lot of conversations that's happening, at least in the podcast space, where you got single folks giving advice. You have married folks that are not speaking up enough. Depending on the person, are they qualified to even give advice because they're not married? How people are receiving it. Like, are we promoting whole culture, single culture? So that's where we at right now. We haven't really dived into the 40 and fornicating yet, but want to get your views on that.
Okay, first of all, I'm not fornicating, praise God. And second of all, I saw the video, and I'm gonna agree with her. And yes, we are promoting whole culture. It's all in the family. I have distanced myself from that type of behavior, but yes, sometimes my attire does say different, and my accountability, I'm a divorce. My accountability as far as in marriage and stuff like that, I'm all for marriage. I had an example with my stepfather and my mom. Not the best example, but it was the only example we had to go by. They still together now through thick and thin, and all of that in between stuff. But as far as marriage, yes, I do condone marriage. But yes, we are condoning whole culture. In our families, we don't take accountability as women. We let each other get away with a lot of stuff. And when some say it, we jump on the person, what my younger people in my family, what they say is now they grown and they can do what they want. So when they say stuff like that or indicate something like that, I say, yeah, you grown, you can do what you want. But can't you use us an example of your, I guess, the reward for being like that? Can't you see through the family, y'all don't want to be like us or nothing like that? So why are you still doing the same things we did? And we're trying to get out. And yes, it is true. When you hit 40, that's when everything want to hit you. All your decisions you made with men, all decisions you made with your, I guess, in the world, and stuff like that, where you're at as far as finances and stuff like that. All that stuff does hit you. But as far as marriage, I do agree with her. Yes, you do get shunned when you're in a good marriage. When I was in my marriage, the main thing I think I can take accountability for, and him too, but mainly me, it was I was telling people what was going on in our marriage. And that was part of the reason why, it didn't work out. Now he did cheat. So, that was further down there. And it was other reasons why too, and stuff like that. When it comes down to it, I honestly thought he was a good man, just to shorten it up. He was a good man because when I did get pregnant, while we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and he was cheating at the time, come to find out, he accepted the child that I had while we were in the relationship. And I thought he was a good man, and I carried on the marriage after that. Because he asked me, even after the child, I told him everything. When the doctor told me, that's when everybody found out. The person who I had by, my ex-husband at the time, but he still chose to go further in the marriage. And I thought he was a good man because of that, which I knew down the line it was going to be a problem. That's why I told everybody from the beginning. And I kept my last name because I knew one day I might have to drop it. But to sum it up, yes, I do believe in marriage. Maybe it's still some hope for me out there. I don't know. But time will tell. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm working on myself.
Okay. Well, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay.
Were you pregnant by your husband, or were you pregnant by another man?
Another man, but we were not together at the time. We were not husband and wife at the time.
Wait. Were y'all together, just not married when you got pregnant by the other guy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wait. I got a lot of questions, but I don't want to. I got
we moved on. Honestly, I done took accountability. Like I said, I told everybody the situation. My son, his dad. I told my ex-husband, the doctor. Everybody knew, including my, so we moved accordingly, And he still takes care of my son now. So, or his son now. He goes, make sure he has a haircut. He makes sure, sometimes he makes sure ain't no other man in his life that he has to come around, and see what's what.
Did y'all split up because he cheated?
Well, we were. Okay, so to not make him look bad and to not make me look bad either. It got to that point because I guess I was just tired of it, so I decided to let the enemy speak to me through his dad. And like I said, he was doing his thing. I kept on bringing it up. He kept saying he wasn't. Come to find out, he was. So it was a lot going on at the time. I was living with him, in the state we were living in. His brothers were living there. No, it wasn't his brothers. But we was living with his brothers. They was bringing women in, and he was, all crazy stuff. But anyway,
quiet as kept. The moment that man accepted your child from another man, you were supposed to forever accept his infidelity, no matter how long or how often it is, because he's forever, every single second of his life, he's providing for, caring for, protecting, loving, and leading another man's child based off your actions. Now, I'm not judging you and I'm not condemning you. I'm just saying that's a purgatory that he's forever in while he's with you. You have to understand that's his purgatory that you don't ever have to consider. You don't ever have to think about it because you don't live it. You have to live in your purgatory. And that may be him stepping out 75 times throughout the course of your lifetime together. I think that's
this was before I got pregnant, though.
Huh? I didn't hear you. What you say?
This was before I got pregnant. So what about his actions before?
Oh, well, we can't speak about his actions before because the actions before, y'all may not even be fully committed to each other. Y'all not married to each other. There's a lot of dynamics that may exist there. You were stepping out, he was stepping out. Y'all both was just doing y'all thing. So it's like it's like a clean slate at that point. But the moment he accepted your son, and listen, I'm not condemning you. I'm not negatively casting any aspersions towards your way whatsoever. I'm just telling you the mentality that you should have been in is like, listen, I'm going to have to deal with something that I don't want to deal with. And I have to prepare myself for whatever that something is to endure that something for the duration of this relationship, because he didn't ask for the dynamic that he had to endure. And he had to endure that dynamic for the duration. Even now the relationship's over, he's still enduring it because he's emotionally attached to that child, which, again, all is good things. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy or he's stupid or nothing.
No, he's not.
He accepted a fate, and you should have prepared yourself mentally that there's going to be a fate that you have to accept.
Oh, I'm with you, but I'm kind of on the fence with that, Will. But I could see, you know, him stepping out 1-2 times, but bro said 75. It's like
300, maybe 500.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and that I'm quite sure that's definitely a heavy burden to carry. However, doing something like that, you might as well not be there. You know what I'm saying? You're now creating a hostile environment, not only for the two, but also for the child. So I get what you're saying.
I understand your rebut. I understand it. You're not wrong, but just understand this. Understand this, and not passing judgment on anybody in the situation, because life be lifing.
Right.
But I've never been in this situation. I hope I'm never in this situation, and I don't wish it on anybody to have to look at a child that is a constant reminder that your woman did you dirty.
Yeah, but that's a self-inflicted purgatory at that point. If we're not together, if we're not married, and I still choose to stay, then that's something that you have to accept and eventually let go. You gotta be able to walk away from that that pain or that brokenness. Right.
You're right.
He's not on papers. I don't have him on papers.
Yeah, I do want to get back on the topic though. Y'all know we kind of spiraling over into.
Yeah.
Hey, Viz, you're the last one to speak on the topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I do want to point out one thing that Will has spoke on, as far as with women not being poured into, as far as with how to value and appreciate men. I would then have to question, as Aisha has stated, and even AP in the chats, he had brought it up. But can we say that women showing that value was making the plate for Papa or Daddy or whoever, and everybody seeing that happen? Also, the courteous or being able to say, hey, no, if we go out, I gotta check with Big Daddy, you know what I'm saying, beforehand. All of these ways of how to show respect to men for what it is that they do and what they offer. So once we're in this position now where that's not being shown, or people are joking about it, saying that no, the kids got to eat first, that's now showing that the men, you know what I'm saying, the men can wait. Their value isn't as high as it once was, because we have this confusion as to where we're placing everyone above the man. So I think that with the lack of that is. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm trying to figure out how to mute myself in between.
So I think with the lack of that shows or takes away that value that was poured into women or young girls at one point. To the original question, I think that right now we're seeing people have an obsession with not having responsibility. Quite often we hear women get on this very platform and say that they want to be able to go and find themselves while they have children or while they have a family. We also have heard women justify it's essentially ignoring their responsibilities. And I would say that it's the same for men as well. But with this obsession, it is bringing the individualism that plays our community, and that does a disservice to what family truly is. So I think that once we get back to that point, then a lot of things would change. Another thing too, I think, to the original question, and with women marrying for security, that's a given. That should be an expectation. I can say from what I've heard, and even in my experiences, even if you're not able to financially provide stability, if you're able to provide mental and physical stability as well, then that, if this woman is truly about you, then that will outweigh the lack of that finance, right? Because everybody here said, if you're a hustler, the money come and go just as easy as you lost it. You can get it back. You know, if you're about that life, if that's something that you can do. So if this woman is truly there with you through the long haul, and you're able to provide that mental and physical, spiritual stability that may compensate for the financial, then that may grow it. We see it all the time, even when men only provide financial stability. That doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be good, because now she feels that she may be getting emotionally abused or financially abused or whatever the case. You still have conflict. So if we both understand what it is that we bring and what's expected, and you've done the vetting to find that person that truly wants to be with you, then I think that will balance it out.
All right. Anybody else?
Well, we said, what if you mentioned about the dinner, making the plates, and about a woman valuing, respecting. I think it was, respect is a must. I think the respect is the value proposition, where guys, a lot of times, our money and our status is our value proposition. You know, we put that in front of a woman, like, hey, I'm a provider, I'm a protector. You know, I drive a nice car, I dress nice, I'm well connected. That's a value proposition for a woman to be interested in you. This is, hey, look, you're showing her, hey, this is what I can offer. But that's not how we value her. And a woman shows her value proposition by saying, hey, I'm submissive, I'm feminine, I'm respectful. But that's not how she values you. We can only value a person by meeting their needs and their needs and wants. So if someone has a want, no matter how unorthodox the want is or the need is, if you meet that need and you're willing to continue to meet that need, that person will feel valued. Even if it's outside of the value proposition that you use to get them. You may use status, money, or whatever to be your value proposition. But when you found out about them, you found out their love language was acts of service. Now, there was nothing about your value proposition that said, hey, I'll shower you with kind words and make you feel good, because your value proposition was what you thought would be something that presents yourself in a better light. But then when you got with the woman, you found out she needs to be talked to a certain way. And so you said, oh, I can do that. That's completely different from your value proposition, but she feels valued. A man doesn't say, hey, I'm looking for a woman that'll make my plate. You know what I'm saying? But she shows, I'm a submissive, respectful woman, and I'll make your plate for you. And he's like, oh, thank you. But he's telling her, no, I need a woman who, physical touch. I need you to touch me. I need you to be near me. And so she's showing her value proposition by being submissive, but then she finds out that how she really shows him love is by touching him and being close to him. And that's what he really needs.
Yeah, but we're not teaching young girls to touch boys though, right? So with me saying that, I was just saying, in order for that woman to even want to do that, she has to see some type of value in him, right? So it's that it's that thing being imprinted on her that, okay, this is the bare minimum, right? This is the bare minimum for a man that I respect. Now, every man is going to have a different love language. So JR could have a different love language from me, as with him, Tyrone, and you, right? So all five of us could have one of the five love languages. That's all going to look different for each woman that has an experience with us. And the only way that comes to be is by her learning him, investing into him. So I get what you're saying, but it kind of contradicts the pouring into young girls to be able to value and appreciate men.
No, dude, understandable. Let me try to land that plane. So, question for you, and then hopefully this may tie in. What do we teach girls to value in boys? Not men and women, not young adults, but girls, like 12 years old and younger, to value in boys 12 years old and younger.
That you don't put hands on them. You don't get into
that's not something that boys value. We don't value that. We don't feel special because girls don't put their hands on us.
I don't know about that, bro. As a grown man, I couldn't deal with a woman that feels okay with putting her hands on me.
No. What I'm saying is when they don't put their hands on us, right? Because we don't go through the day saying no girl put her hands on me today. I feel good about myself. Value, you feel good about yourself when people do something for you, not refrain from doing certain things. Right? If someone doesn't cuss you out, you don't feel good because they didn't cuss you out. You feel good because they said something bad.
Well, no, that's respect, right? Go ahead, Hank.
Well, one of the things the girls should be learning is how to respect the man, and how do they learn that? Well, their mothers should be teaching them that. The example they set every day with their fathers, that man in the house, even if it's not their biological father, if it's their stepfather, that's them showing the example. That's who needs to be teaching these girls. As a father, you ought to allow that and encourage that to flourish. Now, as a father, what you should be teaching your daughters is how a man should be treating her. That's what the father's job to do, is how a man should be treating her, and the mother should be teaching on how she should treat a man by the examples that she set in the home. That's how it should go. That's why I didn't marry. I wouldn't marry a woman who doesn't have a father figure, because there's a lot of lessons that a father in the house is being taught, and some of the things he don't have to say anything. It's just him being present in the house are lessons alone that's being taught that every woman should have and know. And one of the lessons is, I don't see my mom and daddy fighting. He ain't putting hands and feet on my mama. That's a lesson already. He ain't got to say a word. She's seeing that. She's seeing how that operate. That's not I need to how I treat my husband. Every child, and I say child means boy and girl, should learn how to be taught respect and how to respect individuals, whether you're a man or a woman, boy or a girl. That should be an automatic lesson. We all know this. Hey, I don't care that teacher. You respect that teacher, because this is what I tell myself. I don't know if that's what y'all taught, or you was taught, or it's how you taught your kids. I don't care if I'm not there. That teacher is an extension of me. You better respect that teacher. Our neighbor is an extension of me. You better respect your neighbor. Respect your elders. That's what you teach. And that's the lessons that should go on all throughout life. It shouldn't stop just because you turn 18 or 21. All of a sudden, now I'm just going to be disrespectful. Fuck the world. No, that's not how it should go. The respect should continue. So it means when I meet my person who I'm with, she need to come with respect. Just like I, as a man, I have to come as respect for her. It should never stop.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying first of all, are you from St. Louis, bro, or East St. Louis?
No, I'm from Kentucky.
When you said Kerr, you sound like a lot of cats from St. Louis. I was like, oh. All right, so look.
No, it's just my Negro dialect, and I'm from the country.
Okay, so look,
that
respect is great. We should teach our kids respect. Our kids should grow up and embody the respect that we taught them. But what I'm saying is this. I'm saying value. Like, I've never felt value from a person just because they was respecting me because their parents taught them to be common, have common courtesy. I didn't feel valued. I wasn't walking around feeling good about myself. When we show our significant others that we value them, they feel good about themselves. It's an action that we do. It's an outwardly expression that we do for them to get a feeling, for their love tank to be filled. If I'm polite and I tell Miss Angie, I say, oh, excuse me. And I'm trying to get by her. I say, excuse me. She was like, oh, okay. She'll move. And I'm having courtesy. I'm showing respect. I'm respecting her space, but she doesn't feel valued because I did that. So we can respect people all day long. They don't feel valued because we respect them. They feel value when we do something that they want or need. When they appreciate something that you do, that's when they feel value. So little boys know how to appreciate girls, or try to show girls appreciation, because little boys try to be overly nice to girls. They say nice things to girls. We teach them around Valentine's Day to buy the little gifts. But
well, I see where you're going with it, but and maybe it's the term value, right? But if I tell Miss Angie, excuse me, because I'm trying to pass her, that means that I'm acknowledging her, right? So that is showing value to her. We can ask any homeless person on the street, right? They're out there begging for food. People are stepping over them. They act like they don't even see them, and they will openly say, "I don't feel valued," because people aren't giving them the bare minimum courtesy of showing that they're a human being. So I get what you're saying, but I'm just, maybe it's just the play on words.
I got you.
And I'm just acknowledging that part.
I think with your example, I think that's because we're disrespecting them. See, if I walk past Miss Angie and I grazed her and she's like, whoa, you can say, excuse me. She doesn't feel valued because I said, excuse me, but she will feel disrespected if I don't. So value and disrespect looks different. They're not the opposites of each other. I tell people all the time, they're like, show people respect. I'm like, I don't have to respect you. I don't give respect to get respect. I make sure I don't give disrespect so I don't get disrespect. As long as I don't disrespect you, you will never say I respected you because I didn't disrespect you. Man, you know what, y'all, I'm sorry. I got stuck on daddy duty and I was trying to multitask the baby, but I got a jet. Hey, look, Lapeef, man, I appreciate it. I would love to come back in the future. Hey, I was enjoying the build with you guys. I'll chat with y'all later. I gotta take care of this baby. All right. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. Sorry I got a jet.
Respect.
Let me get to these couple. This was earlier dedicated to my children's future, gifted one Lapeef membership. Thank you. And then AP accountability partner $5 says, what's up, panel? Miss Angela, thank you for sharing. I know that it takes a lot. Aisha did it a few weeks ago. We appreciate vulnerabilities. Let's go ahead and switch it over, man. So 40 and fornicating. 40 and fornicating. So this is Tony Gaskin's video that I'm about to play. And he did have some things to speak on the whole tonight's conversation thing. But again, I don't want to focus just solely on tonight's conversation, but he spoke on some issues that is happening in the community as far as our outlook on trying to get it right. And Tony Gaskin has been married for 18 years and he preaches marriage. He also says in one of these clips, may play it, but he talked about how he wasn't always the man who he was. And so once he became the man who he is, then like, where do we go from now? And so I'm gonna play this clip. He does discuss about the 40 and fornicating, and he makes some valid points, and we'll get your thoughts.
Hey, Tony guys here. Now the question is, do women feel any shame? Because I was thinking about that thing this morning while I was brushing my teeth. I say, you know what? These men ain't sleeping with themselves. They sleeping with these women. So y'all women need to start feeling some shame. Y'all need to get off y'all back. Because if y'all get off y'all raggedy back and close your legs, then these sorry Christian men ain't got nobody to sleep with. But they keep being able to get on a podcast that they host or that they a guest on, get off of the podcast, go get in a lame pastor pulpit that is not their pulpit, but go get in this pastor pulpit, preach to all of these women, telling all these lies, talking about they praying and all of that, and then they able to go dive off in some cheeks of one of these women. Now, the thing about it is, I said this morning, I was like, well, they not sleeping with Christian women. They sleeping with Jezebels. They sleeping with demons. But then I thought about it. I say, no. I talk to women every day who is saying they are Christian and them legs is open. There's in willing fornication, just like these men. All of you nasty. All of you nasty. I'm gonna give you till 20 years old to play in the Lord's face. And then after that, you're dumb and nasty. Because how are you playing with the Lord? Come on now. Come on now. It's just too much going on. And y'all got to stop referring to 20 years ago when those of us who are talking, when we was backsliding. Because guess what? We didn't have nobody like me online bringing these messages 20 years ago. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have all this clarity being shared from different angles. We didn't have all that. So if the church ain't enough to keep you out of fornication right now, the pulpit you standing in ain't enough to keep you out of fornication or adultery. The church you go to every week ain't enough to keep you out of fornication. Then if that ain't working now, how you expect it to work 20, 30 years ago? Because that'd be people's excuse. Oh, well, Tony, you fornicated. Yeah, I was 18 years old. You was 40 and stank. And you still fornicating. You got to get it together. It's getting ridiculous. Y'all is 33, 35, 40, 43, 44, still on your back. Still in fornication. You got to get it together. It's getting ridiculous. It is getting ridiculous, and that's how the devil is winning. That's how he beating you. He beating you because you won't get out the defiled bed. And that's why you can't reach your goals and you can't reach your dreams. And this is what you got to understand by the devil. The devil will let you go on Good Morning America. The devil will let you be a New York Times bestseller. Those are all his people. He will give you access to those stages. He will give you that. Because what the devil want to do is get you to the top of the mountain. God ain't got nothing to do with it. The devil will get you to the top of the mountain, and he gonna put a size 12 foot in the middle of your back and kick you off that mountain. And everybody finna watch you fall to your demise if you keep playing with God. But see what God will do, God will consecrate you in the valley. God will renew you from the inside out. God will leave you in the wilderness.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it, man. 40 and fornicating. Go ahead, Tyrone. I know you've been patiently waiting. What are your thoughts on Aisha?
Yeah, I got you, man. Actually, I'm happy at this time. Like, it's so cool for like to be a hoe. I'm getting more action now than when I was in shape. Man, this is like great times. I just want to be able to express myself. But you know, it's I don't know, man. Like, it's all in what you want. You know what I mean? Like, for a guy like me, like since I was like 12, 13, me and my friends was trying to find ways to get some. You know, we changed the way we talked, changed the way we dressed, maybe even changed some of the people we hang out with. Like, dude, the girls say you weird, you can't go, you know? And that's just to get sex. You know what I mean? So it's like for the ladies who want love, what are you willing to adjust? You might have to change the way you talk or how you dress, or maybe some of the people you hang out with to get that. And listen, I got to close on that. I got to head out, guys. But thank y'all for having me. I'm gonna check back in for the rebuttal on when you post the show. But thank y'all, man. Have fun. Peace.
All right. Well, I wasn't expecting that one, another one. But go ahead, Ice.
So I look at this very differently because first of all, I'm not a Christian. I'm not holier than thou. None of those things. I think that adultery and fornication are different. So I think that fornication is not, to me, that's not a sin. I think that we were put on earth to be fruitful and multiply. And I feel like it's a human instinct. Like it's a natural instinct to want to have sex. I just don't see, and I feel like 20 years ago, we didn't have all of this OnlyFans, Pornhub, like all of the sex that's out in the open right now, right? Things were a lot more conservative. Everyone went by the Bible. And a lot of us have moved away from the church, to be honest. A lot of people don't see value in the church. They don't see value in the word. And so that's like literally a biblical value that was instilled in Black people. So since a lot of us are moving away from that, then people feel free to like have sex and sleep with whoever they want, when and how they want, and they don't assess sex with marriage. Like a lot of people just don't do that. Like I don't know anybody that's really like saving themselves for marriage, right? That's not a thing. And I kind of want to test drive the car before I buy it. Like it's the real thing out here. So, yes, I need to test drive the car before I buy it. I literally have a friend that dude checked off every box. I'm telling y'all, that one box he couldn't check. She literally started stepping out on her marriage in 6 months. Okay, and I was like, if you know that you weren't satisfied in that area, then why would you marry him? Well, he checked all the other boxes. Okay. So y'all can act like that's not a big deal, but it is.
I mean, it is a big deal, but I do know that, you know, both men and women have a prime. And then once you get older and things are not working the way it used to, then what happens then? Like, do that person step out, or do they have a level of discipline? Because I think that would be a huge concern for a man that's getting married. If you step out because you didn't get the opportunity to test drive, then
see, that's a different conversation. Not getting the opportunity to test drive is something different. What I'm saying is, before I marry a person, I want to not like go sleep with a whole bunch of people. No, I want to test his water. I want to test drive that car, not anyone else's. And so I think that's the way of the world now. Like people aren't waiting until marriage for sex. It's just not. It's not going to happen. I don't see us going back.
But do you think that that's contributing to the problems that we're having right now as we look forward? Like, what would you tell your daughter? Would you tell your daughter to test drive with a man?
I wouldn't tell my daughter to wait till she's married to have sex, because I don't think that that's logical. My mama told me the same thing. Like hardcore Christian, like Southern Baptist. You know what I mean? Like literally grew up in the church. You know what I mean? So I don't think that I think that once you get to a certain age or to a certain level, it's just the natural instinct that a lot of people have. Like the majority of people are not going to do that. I know that it sounds good and y'all like to refer back to the Bible, but we have to look at this in realistic terms. We know that this is happening. We know that people are going to sleep with each other before they get married. So then that's when the work comes in, as you need to know your person and what you want. I think Tyrone just said a lot of women just don't want that. They are okay with like just tapping that thing just like men and telling y'all to go on and go somewhere. Like, I'm good. See you tomorrow. Like a lot of women are just okay with that. It's like they're getting their fix and then they'll call you tomorrow. It's just the way of the world.
Hold on, Viz. Hink, is there, in your opinion, is there a way to present to a young daughter to value Well, to not be able to test drive. Like, is there, like, have you seen it? Is it possible? And then I'm gonna go to Shan. I'm gonna come back to you, Viz. Just let that marinate a little bit what she said, because there's a lot of people that have said that, and I think it is worth just thinking about it for a second before you respond. But go ahead, and then I'm gonna go to Shan Monet.
Look here, my buddy Aisha, that's my buddy. I don't care what y'all say about her, but I'm gonna say this: I'm not gonna completely disagree with her. Now, where I'm not gonna disagree with it is about, we can't sit there and say we're gonna teach our kids about sex and the birds and the bees, but not talking about premarital sex. That's the reason why we teaching our kids about birds and bees, so we can probably, hopefully, try to deter them from doing it. But we got to be honest. 2025, these little girls are getting it in. 2025, these little boys are getting in. Like I told this story before. As a substitute in 2005, we found used condoms in an elementary bathroom, and these are the kids' bathroom. This ain't for everybody. This is the kids' bathroom. And when I seen that scared the shit out of me, and I had to have a conversation with my son at the time he was in elementary, and my daughter was in high school or about to be a freshman in high school. It had to happen. You have to. When my daughter came and I see my daughter, she had a damn passion mark on her neck. Me and her mother had a conversation, and we put on birth control. I said, we're not doing this. We're not having teenage kids. She's not gonna make me a grandfather at the age of, I think, 30 at the time. We're not doing that. So I had to do preventive maintenance. So I'm not going to sit there and say I disagree with on that part. Now, as far as testing, test drive, and look, man, as a former man whore, I was getting in. I was a fornicator. Yes, I was. I was one of those guys that was fornicated. After marriage, before marriage, during marriage. Unfortunately, I did those things. I made those selfish decision. So I know. Now I wouldn't sit there and say, yeah, the thing to do. Now I'm not going to encourage you to do that, but I'm not going to sit there and say, yeah, you're the worst person in the world because you did do that, because I'd be hypocritical by doing that. So I'm not going to do that shit. So I do understand what she's saying, and I can't say I totally disagree about the kids' parts. I mean, because I do understand that part. Like I said, we all heard the birds and the bee story, and if you ain't had that conversation with your kids, I don't know what the hell you waiting on, because by now they gonna be professional. They might have already sucked the dick and ate a pussy if you ain't already had that conversation by now. I know, ladies, it's hard to handle, and there's a little skirmish that you got to imagine little Junior getting it in, but little Junior is probably getting in. So you better have a conversation as soon as possible. Like I had to do with my son. I had to teach him how to put a condom on. He was in middle school. I had to teach him how to put a condom, because we got to have preventive maintenance. It's going to happen because it's out there. They're going to be curious. They're going to be inquisitive. So I got to make sure my son knows what he needs to do. Same way with my daughter. My daughter and her mother, I said, you need to talk to her. We need to have this conversation. I can explain to her, but I'm a little graphic when I have a conversation. So she said she's going to do it. I said, cool, no problem. But what did I do? I still followed up and had a conversation with her. And I kind of toned it down with her, but I was still straight to the point. Hey, don't you be out here just putting yourself out, because a dude really don't give a shit about you. Just trying to fucking get up. Is that what you want to be, a little hoe? Don't do that shit. But those are conversations we have to have. So I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, go ahead, Shan.
So what was the last question? Because I heard three different things.
Well, I just played it. Did you see the clip?
No.
Okay. All right. So the clip was just basically Tony Gaskins. He was basically highlighting how the men not just having sex with themselves. Women have something to do with it too. And then he kind of spoke about the messages that's being pushed out there as far as people in the podcast space. And he just spoke on like the value of marriage, and how, he wasn't always the person he was, but once he, got in line and got married, been married for 18 years. I think he married when he was young. So he gave grace to people before their 20s, but after your 20s, then you should be able to get on the right track. That is no excuse for you being on the right track. And so he just spoke on just people just basically being out here reckless, and the people that's not qualified preaching to people, basically pushing singlehood. If anybody else want to add anything, is there anything that I missed about the clip? Anything? Okay. All right, go ahead,
so I was watching, and I'll tell y'all when we continue to talk, I'm going my little notes or whatever. I was listening to an Audible, and there was a guy talking, and he said the energy you put into being sex, you could be using that to be successful. The people who are more promiscuous are usually the least successful people, right? Because people who are busy and successful don't have time to be sitting out here wondering who I'm banging tomorrow. They don't put so much focus onto it, right? That's where their energy is going. And I know it's hard, but anyway, I'll share that with you. But if you listen to it, it's really, really good. But somebody was speaking on, can we ever go back? I don't know how that came back. I do think we can. As a person who was a late sex person, I started pretty freaking late. For me, the reason, and I could have kept it, in all honesty, but for me, what helped me was, you as a woman, you have to know you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it, right? I do think a lot of it has to be placed on women. You got to have enough self-respect for yourself, enough value for yourself to not be out here just giving it to anybody. Like, you have to be that person. If he don't want you because you ain't putting out, he ain't for you. Guess what? When he get it, he still don't want you. So what are you winning in the end? Like, we have to start going with the end in mind. Like, what are the chances? Okay, so if you're sitting here and you had sex with Bob, then you had sex with Jake, then you had sex with all these people, you had sex with them and you still didn't get what you want. At some point, you got to realize sex wasn't it, right? The sex wasn't going to get you what you want in the first place. So why are you?
A lot of these women, that is all they want. So that is the conversation.
I beg to differ. So I think that people who've been scorned, that's all they want. People who've gone through a process, maybe they're divorced, and like, I've been there, done that. They're on different paths. We're talking about to a mass of people. I think
about people.
Hold on, Aisha. Let her finish, Aisha.
So I think that in general, people want companionship with somebody. I think that's both men and women alike, right? We just go about it a little bit differently. Maybe in the past time, maybe this person ain't for me. Someone waste this person's time until we get there. Why were you allowing people to waste your time? He knows up front he don't want to be with you, but you're giving him all this stuff and he's not going to give you what you want in the end. To sit here and say women like to be adored. Women like attention. Trust me, take it away from them. Take the attention away from them. Take the options away from them and see how miserable they will be. Everybody wants somebody. It's just how they're going about it. And you're right. People are like, oh, I'm just out here. And very small amount of people who are just out here just freaking nasty. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they just want to go from big
all over the internet. Like, that's all I see is like these women there are like, what is it? Like sexual liberation. Amber Rose had like a slut walk. Like, it has been glorified and put in a lot of these women brain that like, we can just use men for sex. We can just use them for sex. Let's just do that. And a lot of women that I have encountered in these spaces, that's how they say. I just want to do that. I can pay my own bills, whatever. I'll call him when I want some or need him to take my trash out. So we can't ignore that. And these are women, like you said, that are in their 40s. These are women that are in our age, that's been divorced, been through all this stuff, had kids, and they like, I don't really want to be bothered with a man, but I'll go do that and I'm good. I've heard that so much.
So my thing is,
hold on, Ikene. Just the ladies are going back.
So I think that happens. Like I said, if you're a woman scorned and you've been there, done that, maybe you've been married, you've done that part. I can see that you're in a different part of your life than somebody else. I'm talking about young people who've not done that. What ends up happening is you want this guy who don't want you. You think that you can sleep your way into this man's heart. You cannot. All you're doing is sleeping your way into his bed, and then you're going home by yourself. Okay, so you can fool yourself and say, I don't want nothing about, but meanwhile, you're heartbroken. If you see him with somebody else, you tripping. Like, that comes from hurt, right? Because a lot of these women, they sneaky link or whatever, they got an attachment to their sneaky link because let him be messing with somebody else and they find out about it. all hell. That's when they popping off, slashing, doing crazy stuff. That means you wanted him for something different, right? Because if it was just about sex, it wouldn't matter. So I think that we have this way of talking to ourselves, saying we're trying to do one up on men. I can do it too. I can do it. You're not made like a man. You were never made to be a man, right? We are different for a reason. And stop trying to be him. You'll find that being you will feel so much more comfortable just being you. And women should not be out here you cannot tell me a woman feels good about letting any and everybody up in her body. Everybody got, you can get it, you can get it, you can get it. Like, come on. That's something, if they feel good about that, it's something else going on, mental. She's trying to erase something else going on. Some other hurt she got going on in her life. She's trying to erase that, and she's using sex to get over that. It ain't about the sex. It's about something else. So y'all can miss me with that. I ain't never met a woman who is all there, who's like, oh, I'm just wanting to sleep with all these people. Now, I've met a woman who consistently wants to have sex with the same guy and they're on the same page. But even that turns into, now she likes him. Now she wants something different. Now, it's always going to be something else that's wanted. But then they go back when she doesn't get in, like, these niggas, because now you're a woman scorned. But you put yourself in a situation. That's usually the cycle. Whether we like it or not, that's the cycle.
Let me get to these couple of super chats right quick. Harrison Davidson 499 says salute. LD says at the panel, none of y'all waited till marriage. Aisha is right.
Correct.
Yeah, so
go ahead, Viz.
Yeah. So everything that Shan just spoke about goes against the sexual liberation that women have fought and spoke up for. I 100% agree with you, Shan. Now, I will say to what Aisha was stating earlier, and Dr. Umar had touched on this. I think we had saw the clip on here. But when you're giving yourself to other people, when women give themselves to other men, or vice, or even with men, when you give yourself to someone else and you lay with them, you now build this potential expectation that you're going to compare all these other men or women to. So I think that we do a disservice when you rack up a high body count and you're looking for this person to check all of your boxes, because you might come across this one dude that's rodding you out. It's the perfect size, but he don't check none of the other boxes. So now you get this one guy, just like your friend, that checks all of the boxes, but this one. So now she let go of the one that she was potentially would have been actually happy with. So instead, now she's now racking up a high body count, looking for that one again, and then to blame other men. So it's a destructive process and thought process to have to not only not value yourself, but to also to dismiss something that you may have that's gold right in front of you.
All right. Before I go to Ikene, I'm gonna go to Ikene and then Sweeney. Let me just play this clip.
What was the question again? The question was, are single men who confess Christianity willing to wait? Why am I making more specific? Are you, as a Christian man who confess Christianity, willing to wait until marriage for sex? Are you honestly celibate or abstinent?
So no, I have not abstained. I'm gonna be very honest about that. And I think that's a problem with Christian men. Single men, we say the right things on stage when we get in front of the body of the Christ, but we won't be honest.
Teach.
So the mature part of me was here and say, no, I have not been abstinent. Am I willing to wait? Absolutely. Here's my only concern, not as a pastor, not representing Change Church. We got to stop saying that the right person will wait, because that could be the right person and you're still having sex with the right person. It's the heart. And I agree with what she just said. If y'all are willing to step away and get it right and get before God, get before pastor, it doesn't matter really where you are. I think we put so much emphasis on sex, but I know virgins who are going to hell. And so for me,
Second Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 3-5. For this is the will of God, that you be sanctified, separated, and set apart from sin, that you abstain and back away from sexual immorality, that each of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, being available for God's purpose and separated from things profane, not to be used in lustful passion like the Gentiles who do not know God and are ignorant of his will. Why is this important? Because if Christ helps us win in this area sexually, then it shows and is even a testimony that he is truly master over our lives. This man is a pastor, he said, of Change Church, but he's going completely against the will of God.
I just won't keep it up. And so for me, everything that we said, I'm just being honest. It's like, listen to what the pastor there just said. He didn't harp on purity. He said, is this man a man? Is he a leader? Does he love people? And so for me, I'm not just focused on trying to abstain from sex. I'm trying to be the daggone best man God has made me to be. And being that man, I will fall. It may not be with sex, but I may fall and cut somebody out. That's being real.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to grow as that man.
Something interesting. She said, "That's your wife out there speaking." Listen. So listen, you said something really key too. In seasons where you're practicing abstinence, you'll find challenges with women that don't respect your abstinence, correct?
Yo, man, I knew you was going to go there.
I had to.
I was going to skip that.
No, I want to say that. Because a lot of times they always put the onus on the man and be like, these men not waiting. But I've had my experiences out in these dating streets, and some of that adversity come from these women. And so y'all have heard me talk about it in season 2 of my podcast. I took a vow of abstinence. I've always been transparent about that. I've had my wins. I'll be abstinent for about 7 to 8 months, and I'll fall off for about a year. And then I'll be abstinent again. This ain't gonna be a safe space. This ain't gonna be a space. If this ain't gonna be a safe space, I'm gonna leave. Okay? It's testimony time. The math ain't math, and I understand. And we ain't going day for day. I'm saying that I've been having sex a long time. I'm 46 years old. When you're trying to stop a habit, it takes a little time. Okay?
Say,
I'll be abstinent for about 7 to 8 months. I fall off about a year. I'll be abstinent again about 9 months. Fall off about 13 months. But
How you fall off for a year? Genuine question.
So I'm back abstinent again. And so God be taking too long to bring my wife. I can be abstinent if I can meet my wife around 6 months to 8 months. I'd been abstinent when we got married. What? I would have saved myself for her. But the way this math is math, and it just ain't adding up right. So I'm trying. Y'all pray for me. Pray for my strength in the Lord. That's what they used to say in the back of the day. Pray for my strength in the Lord. So my goal and desire is to operate in discipline. The reason why it's so important to me is because God told me when I was in my early 20s, God says you'll never be faithful to your wife unless you first become faithful to me. And he said, while you are single, I am your lover. You are married to me. And so every time you step outside of me, then you're committing adultery on me. That's a hard pill to swallow. I keep cheating on God. I'm sorry, but my goal is to get to a place where I'm faithful to him. And what that did, that manifested in my marriage because I wasn't disciplined in that area. I didn't kill that Goliath before it became a Goliath in my life. And then what happened, because you got to kill those things while they're still little baby Goliaths, because they're going to rear their heads up real big in your marriage. And then you'll have to try to fight that thing, or that thing may overthrow you. And I've been very transparent that I was unfaithful in my past marriage several times. And then I said, okay, I didn't even like who I became in that marriage. And I said, you know what, God, I don't like me. And so the Dear Future Wifey podcast was birthed after my divorce, after I filed for divorce. I said, I got to.
Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get Ikenan and Sweeney in there.
Yeah. How you guys doing today?
Great.
What's up, buddy? We knew you was going to hit that
Doing
link.
good. Yeah, I know, man. But let me put it this way. First, I got to say to Aisha, this is why I said before a man marries, you got to know the woman you're getting married to. You got to know who you're getting married to, because you got to be careful who you keep around your kids or who you're allowed to raise your kids. If you're going to tell your daughter that she has to test other men dick before she get married, oh, God help us, man. But then, in general, this is what I got to say to everybody. The reason why I left the church was because of people like that man. That's the reason why I left the church. I never go to church again. Because today's pastors are either fornicators, adulterers, or criminals, or fraudsters. It's only 1% of men that are pastors, based on my general mathematical calculation, are worthy of being pastors. The rest of them are either criminal, fornicators, or adulterers. They don't even have any reason to be near pulpit. That's what I got to say. But another thing is, sexual promiscuity is in the DNA. I have dated girls that lost their virginity as early as 12, 13 years old. I've been with girls that lost their virginities in their 20s. And I got to tell you, based on my experience, if I have to deal with a girl that lost her virginity or that started having sex, I would rather have sex with a girl that started very late in life. Because based on my individual and personal experience, those ones that either lost their virginity in their 20s or after they got married are far better mothers, based on what I see today from my ex-girlfriends, than the ones that started much early. Kevin Samuels and the rest of the people, and also science, this is not human gaze, are right when they say that the more a woman accepts a penis, the less her judgment. The more a woman accepts, like if you've had sex more than 4 times as a woman, it obscures your judgment. You can never be able to be selective on who you deal with. If you have to test a man's penis to make up your mind on who to get married to, it tells how much men you've been with throughout your life. That means you've been with so many men that you have to test men's penis to be able to decide who to marry. Women's vagina is elastic. It's not inelastic. It's elastic. But when it becomes inelastic, now you want different. You want something that can get to that size that you want, because you've been there, done that, and you've gotten screwed up completely. But please let's not bring this to our kids. Let's teach our daughters how to be better wives. Let's raise our daughters so that somebody else can marry, love her, and respect her. I want to raise my daughter, teach her sex education, but teach her that sex is better when she's married, but also prepare if something happens on our way to marriage. You know what I mean? If something happens on the way to getting married, be prepared for that. But it's good to always teach them, because I've been with girls that were taught. In fact, I had 2 girls in my lifetime that I dated. I didn't take their virginity because they held it so dear that they have to be married to lose it. And I will tell you honestly, both of them lost it after they got married, and they're still married up to today. After all these many years, I'm still mad at myself for not taking it, for not pressing harder, but I respected their decisions. We dated for years. I respected their decisions. But please, let's not make this world what it's not, please. Let's not make it so sexualized. These kids are not sexualized. It's the parents that are sexualized. What we say in our house is what our children pick from. When you are a mother or a father that goes out there and have sex with whoever you want and you think you can control your kids, you're lying. Your kids will learn from you because they watch your steps. Not what you say, but the work you walk is what your kids pick up from because they see what you do. So be careful around the kids.
Okay, let me just get the super chat for Sweeney go. AP accountability part of $20. Thank you, sir. And that's where she's wrong, boss. If you are moving intentionally and the goal is marriage and you are still not married by 35, that's a lot of test driving. Now, if you wait until the proper time to, what's the word? Consummate after.
Yeah.
Thank you, AP. Go ahead, Sweeney.
So I'm assuming that this conversation is specifically talking about people who are 40 and fornicating. I know we like to drive it back to teaching our young kid, but obviously we have to be speaking to full-grown adults here at this moment, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's a reason why pastors like that exist now. Is because he's trying to reach a secular world but also trying to serve as God at the same time, right? The reality is dating and religion or Christianity, so to speak, are at odds with one another. They don't mix. Because when you're talking because we are trying to create prescriptions for problems that shouldn't have been problems to begin with. We were supposed to teach our kids, we were all supposed to learn that you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That was what we were supposed to learn. And honestly, I'm sure all of us heard the message. We decided to deviate, of course, but all of us heard the message. We just didn't listen. So now you have pastors up there trying to have a conversation with adults about who are trying to find their way back to God. And now you have your born again Christian woman, and then you have your born again Christian man, and both of them are still living in the flesh because they both still have to date. And that's where the problem comes into play. Is because what do we tell people when they are dating? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't try to find out who you like and who you don't like and all of this. Well, that message inherently creates fornication. Because nobody's going to go out there and constantly date, but withhold sex, or man or woman. Because one is going to feel slighted over the other. If a woman is out there, if a woman is out there withholding sex and she's saying, well, I'm out here dating and I'm just trying to figure things out, then the men will feel slighted who go out on dates with her. But on the vice versa, if a woman is giving it up, she's going to feel slighted because the men are not choosing her. So dating inherently goes at odds with Christianity. Because the reality is, I'm okay with y'all. Okay, you have two people that come together and the idea is marriage between them two and they both are serious about each other. If they have sex before marriage, maybe, possibly, or they withheld. The ultimate end goal was that at some point they get married. But again, we're talking about 40-year-olds. We know that the vast majority of 40-year-olds aren't even looking to be married anymore. Well, I ain't gonna say the vast majority. Don't get me lying to y'all. But we do know, I specifically looked up the data about men in marriage. A lot of men are no longer looking to marriage after the age of 40. The number of men that want marriage dropped significantly. I don't know exactly what the numbers are for women, but I'm sure that they dropped significantly as well. So we're talking about 40-year-old people who are trying to be Christians but still date at the same time. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Unless y'all just love kicking it with each other with no sex in between y'all two. So there's this phrase that they used to say, right? Back in the day, they used to tell us, well, should they still say it to this day? Make an honest woman out of her. Why did they say that? It's because the woman that you were serious with, that you was having sex with, that you made a kid with, that you, even before, say for instance, you got her pregnant, They used to say, make an honest woman out of her because you didn't want her to continue to be against God while she was with you. So you married her. So what is happening now is everybody wants to be with God. Everybody wants to be in alignment with God. But you can't give up the one thing that you feel that you need to hold on to, which is dating and sex. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to take 2 or 3 years to figure out if a person is the one or not. You want to take 2 to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years dating on the same to try to figure out who works for you and who doesn't work for you. And unfortunately for you, that puts you at odds with God. I'm not even a religious person. I'm just saying this from the observation purpose. From my view to like how I see all of this, that's why that church exists. Is because he's trying to create a prescription for the people out there who are 40 and fornicating, 30 and fornicating, 25 plus and fornicating. Because y'all are already at odds with God. So now he's like, okay, well, how do we fix this? We know everybody's out there having sex now. We know everybody's fornicating now. So what do we tell these people that are actually doing it?
Sweeney, I think you don't understand what he said. You're not really helping the guy out. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Gaines.
Yeah, I'm not trying to him out at all. I'm not even trying to defend him. I'm just saying there's a reason why that exists.
Yeah, but we're not being honest though, man. We need to stop this bullshit. That's what I can't stand. You can't just be lying to these motherfuckers. Man, look, the problem with the church, man, is they don't speak on the real shit. So if he's talking about fornication, that's real. That's real shit they should be talking about. Another thing they don't talk about is homosexualism. They don't talk about that shit. You know what they talk about in church? Making sure your black ass tithes 10% or higher. That's the only thing they really keep talking about. Now they start to add politics into the bullshit. That's what they talk about as well. They don't talk about shit they need to be talking about. So you sit there and say they should be talking about this. No, Sweeney, they need to be talking about this. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be spoken about. Bring it to people's attention. But they're not doing that on a regular basis. They talk about everything else but what they should be talking about. Fornication ain't got to do with just man and woman. Fornication is also man and man, woman and woman. That's fornication too. We need to talk about that shit, but they're not talking about that. Why? Because they don't want to chase off their audience. They don't want to chase off their members. They want that good choir director so he can teach at the next big Sunday concert in New Orleans at the Essence Fest. They don't want to chase him off because if we start talking about homosexualism, then his little sweet ass is going to be up out of here. If they start talking about men and cheating wives, cheating others, then they're going to lose half the congregation because probably half of them sleeping with the goddamn pastor because they fantasize about the motherfucker because he's a leader, he's a man of God and all that shit. But in the back end, he's knocking your ass out in the pulpit when everybody's gone home. Come on, man. We need to stop this shit. Look, we understand it's happening out there. We understand people are testing the waters, as my buddy Aisha says. We understand that it's happened. So what do we got to do? We can't act like it's not. We can't cover out, you should be doing that. Bullshit, they are. It's 2025, they are. What are we doing to prevent them from doing this? How about teaching them, hey, if you're going to do this shit, and we know you're going to do it, how about you be safe with it? How about you not just trying to be sleeping everybody in the goddamn neighborhood? How about we do that, Sweeney? Because it's going to happen. Ain't shit we going to do about it. It was having to do with the Lord's Day. That's why he talked about it. It's happening in 2025. So it's going to continue to happen. It's in our nature. So what are we going to do to prevent certain things? By saying, okay, I know you're going to do it. How about you not do it all the time? How about you make sure you wear protection? How about you make sure these people are tested that you are sleeping with, and we know you're sleeping with unprotected? How about you make sure they come back with a right paperwork that you need to know that everything's on the clear? We need to talk about that shit.
Pink, I see what you're saying, but that's the problem. That's not what they're supposed to say. They're supposed to, through God has very specific instructions for them for what they're supposed to, what his followers are supposed to be doing. They can say protect yourself. They can say you need to do. They can point them in a direction of being able to protect themselves. However, the message that they deliver cannot be in alignment with fornicating, because God had gave them a specific instruction for how people are supposed to behave. So if you're a pastor, and again, this is just me looking from the outside. If you are a pastor and you're saying God ain't telling you to go down there and tell those people, hey, look, if you're going to go out there and do it, it's all good. Just make sure you protect yourself. He's going to tell them, you're supposed to tell them what they're supposed to do. And if what they're doing is wrong, you got to tell them that they're wrong and to stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they supposed to,
go ahead, bro.
And I will be honest, you got to leave them never mind.
Well, it's not the church's
let's make
duty.
let's make sure we checking out the ladies. We got a couple of them up here. Aisha, you want to say anything?
Go ahead, lady. Go ahead, Aisha. Go ahead, Shane.
I just think, like I said before, I know that Black people want to be conservatives and the white people taught us about Christianity and all of that. But I just think that sexuality and sex is literally a part of human nature. And I think that this is something that we were taught. And I think that some people are able to suppress those urges and some people are just not. Like Shan said, she's never been like that person. I am, right? I know that about myself, but knowing that doesn't mean I slept around. My husband took my virginity. When I say I came from a Christian home, my mama was not playing no games, right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, if I sleep with somebody, I got to get married. You know what I'm saying? So guess what happened? Married the guy who took my virginity. But I know that you can still be a sexual person and not sleep with multiple men. That's not the same thing. You could literally be sexual and sleep with one person all the time. One thing has nothing to do with the other. I think the issue arises when you're jumping from bed to bed to bed to bed, you know. But if you're intentional about your person and you know that's who you want to be with and what you're trying to do, I just don't see a problem with it.
So Aisha, with that being said, right, that still can't be what they tell you to do, because the message to you is still to not fornicate. However, so you grew up in a Christian home. If I was a pastor, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I would have told you, the message wouldn't only be that if you have sex, that you got to marry the person because of sex before marriage or marriage before sex or however you call it.
Mm-hmm.
The other lessons in that would be to help you practice discernment to make sure that if you ever gave your body up, it would be to the person that you were going to marry anyway. It would be to the right person. That for it, like that, those two things are supposed to be taught. That's why you have the singles, mingles in the church and all of that, because they're supposed to put good God-fearing people with other good God-fearing people and help them couple up so that they're not living in sin. So I understand what you're saying, and from a secular mindset, you're absolutely right that in reality, people are out there doing, and that's what if okay, you got to teach people that to protect themselves, that they don't always have to give it up and all of those things. But from a religious perspective, if I was a pastor, I could not tell you that. I would have to tell you the message would always be in accordance with what God said. But I would help you if I was that pastor, I would try to help you make sure that everybody around you made sure that you practice the right discernment, and would have people around you to make sure that the person that you had sex with first would have been your husband regardless. Because that was...
Go ahead. Finish your last statement.
Oh, no, I'm good, bro.
Okay. Let me go to Shannon, then we'll come back to Viz. I know Viz trying to get in there. Go ahead, Shannon.
So just want to clear something with Aisha. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But so when I was talking, I'm not talking about you in a consistent relationship with your husband. I mean, you have a relationship with your husband. The problem is nowadays, nobody knows who your husband is going to be, right? People are just sleeping, hoping that this is a husband, hoping this is a wife, and it's not working out that way. So at this point, it's just not working. That's not in people's favor. That's what I'm saying. And so if you stick to what the Bible is saying, then you don't have to worry about all that, because you're not even stepping over. If he wants you If imagine every woman just closed their legs, men will choose because they would have no choice, right? They didn't got unless they just want to go get a prostitute, which most of them don't. Let's just be honest. So that's why I say it's on us. And it's just like any other sex, when you're overly sexual and you just get it from anybody, that means that it is a vice at that point. It's almost like it's like alcohol. You have no control over, you just being sloppy with it, right? And like any other vice, it's gonna be hard you have to put yourself first. You gotta say, I'm bigger than this. Like I respect myself, the value of myself bigger than I accept, it's bigger than the problem, right? So if you do that, you won't go into the problem. And I think the Bible helps with that. I do agree with Hink. I think that the church or whatever you go to doesn't do a good job at preaching. It is so much that we accept in the church that people just don't even abide by the rules anymore. You know what I'm saying? Before it was like you were looked at a certain kind of way, you had things. Now everything's accepted. I think that that's probably an issue too. But I don't know. I'm just.
All right, let me get the super chat right quick. AP accountability partner, $10 marriage. Then you get the opportunity to learn each other and grow together. Thank you for that, AP. Go ahead, Viz, and then I got this clip that I'm gonna play for Tony Gaskins, and he does have a controversial take about Kevin Samuels that he says as well. Go ahead, Viz.
Yeah, so it's not the place or position of the church to tell people how to prevent those measures. It's not the duty of the church to tell people how to get around the standards of what was set forth. That's not what the church is there for. The church is there to say, this is right, this is wrong. This is what we believe. These are the morals that we adhere and stand by. And this is simply what it is. If you do anything outside of that, then you're not walking with God and you're not in good faith. Point blank, period. Now, what we see now, without a doubt, in the church is confusion, is destruction. We see false prophets on every level. The fact that, and not to get into politics, but the fact that Kamala was able to stand up at churches preaching, getting up in the pulpit, standing behind what she stood behind, which goes against the very morals of church, is insane. But just like Hink said, they do want to make sure that the numbers is still there. They want to make sure people cashing out. But that's why it is the duty of people, as you as an individual, to be aware of who it is that you're choosing to follow. So it's one thing to be understanding of what the word is, and then it's another thing to live in the world, as they say. So I think we have to be able to come together as a community. And if you agree with this, all right, well, this is what we're abiding by, and this is what we're upholding. And if you don't, then you're on the outskirts, and it just is what it is. We're not here to make you feel happy or welcome. This is just what the standard is. And with us stepping away from that is caused what we see now.
I do want to hold on. Isha. I do want to switch it up a little bit because the church was just an example. But as you guys have been seeing, a lot of conversation that's been going on as far as the podcast as well. And I guess you can make the same argument with the podcast. So just kind of keep that in mind. Not to focus so much on the church right now, but just people giving advice and who people are following. How the single are leading the single. Like the married folks may not be getting no respect. Everybody don't respect marriage. So especially keep that in mind. Go ahead, Aisha.
No, I was just saying Black people have to bring back shame. Like nobody's ashamed of anything. Like, do you see that these people are literally walking outside with like see-through lingerie stockings on for outfits? Like there is no shame. And it's like when you try to shame somebody, then you're a bad person. No, it's time to be shame. It's time to hold people accountable in our community. And I think I hear a lot on social media, well, the white folk, they doing this and they doing that. We got to stop comparing ourselves to them. We live by a totally different standard. Black people are conservative by nature, right? We were never in line with any of these things and any of this over-sexualization. We were never like that. I remember in middle school, it was the little white girls that was out here sucking dick. It was not us. Okay, we weren't there yet. You know what I mean? So I feel like somehow we have got aligned with the dominant society and lost our morals and our values and our sense of self, all in the guise of like inclusive, trying to be inclusive with everybody, right? Those aren't the values that we share in our community. And I think that we just have to get back to like shaming people. Like, yeah, you should feel bad about coming outside looking like that. It's not cute for your stomach to be hanging over, right? So I just think that we as a community have to like just tell it as it is. It's not right, it's wrong. We don't have to always align with all of these different agendas that they put out there for us. We don't have to stand with these people.
And JR, that's why I was asking earlier if that was a church platform or if he was a pastor, because that matters. Now, if he's just speaking from a secular perspective, then and he's just incorporating church or God into it, then that's something different. Because now we can't have and hold that same expectation of the church and what we expect for to be said on the church platform.
I don't think that their platforms are specifically church platforms, but I do think the audience is from a Christian. I don't really follow Anthony O'Neill, but I do know he mentioned it there, that he was affiliated with the church of some sort. I don't think they may be lead pastors, but I may think that they associate themselves with Christianity, and it is a message that's being pushed. And they've had some people that were considered Christian leaders on their platforms. So I think it's all intertwined. So they may be looked at still. They still have a high standard and a high influence as far as the people that follow them and what they speak on, what they speak about.
Yeah, Anthony O'Neill always spoke from a religious background. I remember seeing him when he was with Dave Ramsey. So yeah, he always spoke from a religious aspect. But we also got to remember these people are not perfect. They're not perfect. They are sinners just like we are sinners. They not. So we can't expect everything for them to come out to be everything on the up and up. They're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna downfall. They're gonna backslide. We all understand that. And that's why the man said, yeah, I backslided and fell into sin again for a year or whatever the case be. It's a big fact that nobody's going to be perfect. So if you're looking for perfection in the church, you're going to the wrong place. Ain't going to be no perfection in nowhere you're going to find. So you got to just deal with what you deal with. But at the end of the day, the church is the people, right? So you don't have to actually go to a goddamn building to go to church. If you got a group of believers amongst you, you can have church right in Shan's living room. That's where it can be. We doing it now. Shout out. I'm Pastor Hink. I know I'm up for a preacher. Y'all make sure y'all pass your collection plate and drop it in JR's. Do what y'all got to do.
Hey, but
at the same time, look, nobody's perfect. We got to expect these things are going to happen. So what are we going to learn from this? Are they continue to do these things? Have they learned from their mistakes? Have they moved past it? Or they continue to do it over and over? Now, if they continue to do it over and over, once they found the light, once they found the answers, once they became righteous, then I expect some little bit of change. I don't expect them to keep doing it. If you keep doing it and not asking for forgiveness or seeking forgiveness, then that could be a problem. That's when I have the issue.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say this one thing, and we can move on, JR. Hink, I do agree with you. We have to acknowledge that we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all born in sin, right? But I've seen numerous times where elder pastors and preachers, they're in their 50s, 60s, whatever the case may be, their wife will transition, and a year later they'll get remarried, because realistically, they are men. They have desires and passions, right? So they go through this process of remarrying because they understand that that's what needs to be done especially when you're preaching the word. So if you claim to walk with Christ and you get up on the platform and say, oh yeah, I was celibate for 6 months and then it didn't work for a year, then that's contradictory to the very thing that you get up and speak about. So it's in bad faith, as they would say, from people that's from the outside looking in, and even from the inside looking out, is just still a bad look. So I get what you're saying, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
All right. Let me get to these couple super chats and then we get into that clip. I'm not sure if I read this, but $10 marriage, when you get the opportunity to learn each other and grow together. And then the biblical movement, 999. So shout out to the panel. I would encourage everyone to research the word fornication. The word fornication means to commit adultery. Use strong concordance. I want to thank y'all for doing that. Shan, you there? I'm trying to see if I can wait on Shan right quick. So
Adultery is when you step outside your marriage. Fornication is if you're having sex and you're not married. Those are two different definitions.
All right. Just trying to wait on Shane. Anybody got anything real quickly before we do? One of the things I do want to keep in mind is that what I've seen is based off my experience. I haven't looked at no data, but a lot of women that I spoke to did at some point in time desire to have children and desire to be married. But because of a traumatic experience, whether it be dating or childhood, or sometimes as an adult, it's altered their perception on how they view marriage and how they see men. And then that's the reason why you find people not wanting to get married. I don't think nobody wants to be alone. I stand on it. It's something that I just honestly think that a lot of people don't want to be alone. I know one thing somebody mentioned to me, and they're nurses, that when people are passing away, even the convicts and people have done the most grimiest things you could think of, they say that they don't want to die alone. So I wholeheartedly think that nobody desires to be. I think they condition themselves to be. And then when they really need somebody, that person is not there. And it's when they begin to cry internally and look at life and regret. And I when I had these conversations too, if you are 40 and if you look up the average man and woman, when they are expected to live, I think the men is what the upper 60s, and the women the lower 70s.
When men, the average life expectancy of a black man is like 70.
Yeah, and then the women is what? It's a little bit higher, right?
75, 76, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. But if you think about it, man, I mean, you got about 25, 30 more years left. You know, I don't know if y'all think y'all get another lifeline, but once that life is over, then it's over. So what is it that you want to be doing for the rest of your 25, 30 years? If you make it. I hope you make it, but you got 25, 30 years. So what do you want that to look like? I don't want to be alone. You know, can I be alone? Absolutely. I don't think I have nothing to prove as far as about being alone, but who the hell wants to? That has to be a miserable life that you can't coexist, that you are so selfish. And I respect it, right? I'm not trying to change nobody, but I'm just trying to give you something to kind of think about while you're in your loneliness. Like, is this what you really want to desire for the rest of your life? Like, I think there's so much benefit as far as having a companion, and hopefully that person can be a husband or wife, but I think there is some value in it. And I will continue to push for it. I think people should come together and get things right. It could be a beautiful thing if you can not focus on the negative experiences that you may have experienced or the next person is going with. But if you're able to find the right person and get it right, it can be a beautiful thing. So,
you know, it's funny you say that, because we had this conversation on King Talk, man. Shout out to King Talk on Tuesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. We had a talk on King Talk about marriage and being alone, man. And I know I definitely spoke about it. But, you know, going on my road trips, when I go see my son play ball and he plays on the road, It's okay. I'm okay with going by myself. You know, it's fine. It's cool. You know, it's a lot cheaper. It don't cost me much money because I ain't got to go to the cassette stand as much. But that's a different story. But it is fun that I can go with my wife and she can go with me, you know what I'm saying, keep me motivated. I don't mess around and doze off because I got a long drive home, you know what I'm saying, go on road trips just to get away and get out of town a little bit. When I like to go on my record conventions and to them and shops and do little fun stuff like that. It's fun to have somebody with you to share with you, to talk and entertain you while you're going, and you're not just there by yourself. You get to share those memories with somebody else. It's a beautiful thing. Like you said though, it's got to be the right person. Now, it could be hell if you find the wrong woman. You know what I'm saying? If you're dealing with the wrong man, I'm sure it's going to be hell on the ladies. You don't want to be with a annoying, overbearing asshole type of a man or a woman. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants that. But if you got that right woman, man, she going to rock with you then. She going to be on your side. She going to encourage you. She going to uplift you. She gonna make sure your clothes are clean. She's up her fold clothes now, making sure my dinner's right, make sure my belly gonna be full. I got lunch, I got some leftover. She gonna do all those things. Shit, that's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people ain't got it. Thank God for mine.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and play this clip again. This is Tony Gaskins, and he does make a controversial perspective about Kevin Samuels too. So here we go, y'all. Hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think we did have another super chat of Darkness 19. $10 says there's no difference between a saved Christian committing the same sin every week and asking for forgiveness versus an unsaved Christian who does it naturally. When you learn you're wrong, don't repeat it. Thank you there for that Adonis side. All right, Shane, here we go. I'm about to play this clip.
I'm tired of hearing the stupid excuses every week about why your grown, musky, sorry behind can't change your life. And now we got these little girls and these kids and these lost, delusional women sitting up looking at these grown, spanking, musky men keep hollering about why they can't come out of fornication. I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm sick and tired of hearing it from every single day a different woman. Tony, you was right. Tony, you was right. Well, you keep listening to the fools. Soon as I call out Lateria, he went and started preaching. Soon as I call out Anthony O'Neill, he went and started preaching. They did exactly what I told you them demons would do. Go run and try to hide behind God, try to get in the pulpit so they could be even more look holy and righteous, but then get out the pulpit and go fornicate. Demons playing right in your face. And see the thing what I don't mind about the ace metaphor guy is I never hear him talk about God. Like, he might as well be an atheist to me. See, and honestly, I don't care about that. Like, I don't like the fact he give relationship advice if he not married. But on a spiritual level, I don't care about demons playing with demons. I don't care about that. Like, if you don't claim to know God and claim to be a Christian and claim to be God-fearing and claim to be a man of God, you could do all the hell on earth you want to. You could do all the satanic stuff you want. That's neither here nor there for me. What bothers me is when Christians are doing bad PR for Jesus Christ. And then when a real Christian come flip tables, now we get called vulgar and call all these names and all of that because we calling a spade a spade. And then a Christian trying to tell us to come and talk and, well, you don't need to call them dummies, and you don't need to flip tables, and righteous indignation doesn't mean what you think it means. Really, you just want to really just shut up. Because that's what I told the man Kevin Samuels. Because he started telling Christian women, don't save yourself. Don't think that you could date a man and not have to sleep with him. And I did a video just like this. And I said, now you becoming an enemy of God because you are telling people not to live by the Holy Bible. You set an example that is trying to upend the work of God. And if you keep playing with God, you're going to pay a price. That brother died not long after that. And I'm not saying that's the reason he died, because the wages of sin lead to death. But he died from a heart attack while he was with a woman. So we don't know what kind of sex pills was in there. We already see evidence of all the overdose of Red Bulls. And then a lot of people got in their feelings and was feeling bad about it. But this is the thing. I already knew something bad was going to happen when he started waging war against the Holy Bible. People are like, oh, no, he was for God. He was for the family. No, when you telling people to fornicate, that is a sin. That is against the Holy Bible. When you tell a woman that she go on a date after 5 p.m., then she need to open her legs and expect to have sex, that is not the work of God. And I heard him say that out his mouth. And it is no different than these Christian men like Lateria and Anthony O'Neill out here admitting to fornication, but at the same mouth saying they love God. And then the next weekend going to preach in somebody's pulpit. If you send this video to the pastor that keep letting Lateria and Anthony get in a pulpit and tell that pastor, you going to hell. You are going to hell if you keep playing with God and letting these sinning, willing, sinful men get in the pulpit and pluck women out your church to have them separated from God through fornication. You are going to pay a price because you are supposed to be a shepherd, and you should never let an unmarried man who is not living the life like Apostle Paul, modeled after Jesus Christ, get in your pulpit. Never should a man be in your pulpit if he's not living like Apostle Paul and he's single. You are responsible, and everybody in that congregation, their blood is on your hands, and you need to take that cucumber out your behind and stop smoking meat of these so-called fake celebrity men. And you need to realize that you are a pastor and you are called to a high calling, and it is not being judgmental by protecting the mantle and keeping these sinning, fornicating, willing, 40-year-old plus musky men out your pulpit from in front of these single, desperate, delusional women that's sitting out here listening to these clowns. If I was a woman and one of these clowns get in the pulpit, I am grabbing my purse. I got to go. And Pastor, I'm not coming back to this raggedy church till you get this clown out this pulpit. And every single person in there need to send these pastors an email and say, do not put this fornicating man in this pulpit again. I'm finna set this thing on fire with the Holy Spirit.
All right. Let me go ahead and get the East in there, and then we can swing.
Did you say my name?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Sure. I just think way over the top. I've never even heard of this Tony guy. I told y'all I'm not that big on socials.
What?
But I do agree with the Kevin Samuel sentiment. Like, you can't be telling people to go against their own religion. Like, that's very contradictory. To tell a woman, like, don't save yourself, you know what I'm saying, for marriage. Like, you're pretty much telling her to go out here and sleep around, but then you're going to judge her if she has this immense body count. So I don't agree with that, but I do agree with him saying that, but I'm not a religious person. So all of the other stuff that he said, it didn't register to me. Because I think that you have to be more self-aware. Like, I don't think that there's somebody in the sky that's like dictating my actions and, you know, telling me how to be. I think that you should just do what's right because that's what's right. So he kind of lost me with all the religious aspects of it. Because if you're just going to tell somebody not to sleep around, just say don't sleep around. I think that pastors are human. These are still men. These are still human beings. They're still flesh. So I think that we put this high expectation on them, and they don't even put that high expectation on themselves, because that's why they do what they do. Okay, Viz, I see you making faces.
No, a pastor is supposed to have those high expectations. We we can't remove the expectations of leaders. That's why they're leaders. They're there and they're open to be held under scrutiny. So just how we was talking about Obama and Michelle, we can do that because they are the leaders of the black culture, of black people, with them being the first black family, essentially. So we can't remove the fact that these people that are, one, supposed to be chosen by God, but two, have also accepted the calling that's upon their life and taking on that risk of being a shepherd to people that's going to follow them and look up to them. We have to hold them under the microscope, because that's how you keep everyone accountable. So you can't talk about something that you're not living out yourself. So on that part, I will have to disagree.
On shows like this, on these podcasts, most of these people that get up here and speak on these podcasts are not living the life that they say that they're living.
And if they don't, just as you said, we have to bring back shame. We should shame them. So if you said this and we have the receipts, then we're going to hold you accountable to it.
Period.
That doesn't change depending on what level it is that you're on, but especially pastors, politicians, leaders, your boss. If something happens, nigga, what happened? We following you, bro. If Lapeef Network falls off, all we can do is ask JR, what the fuck happened? Right? I can't ask Hink. Hink don't know. It's not his. So we do have to hold people accountable, and that just comes with being in a society.
So do you think that Christian people aren't as disciplined as they put on?
No. We scripture tells us that all men fall short of his grace. So everybody is going to fall to sin to some extent. But if you're going off of scripture, then that's part of carrying your cross. But yeah, no, I don't expect for a pastor to get it right every single time. But I expect for them to conduct themselves in a certain type of manner.
But it's so common for pastors to like sleep with the women in the church. Have a lot of us people don't go to church because of that reason, because they've encountered so many of these black pastors who are really just doing it for self, right? And I can compare this because when I went to the mosque, right, and I was around the brothers, they have a totally different moral compass than the men that are Christians. I have never heard any of my Muslim brothers ever say that they done backslid, they did this to their wives. It's never cool for them to cheat on their wives. It's a whole different dynamic when you get over there to the Islam community compared to the Christian community. It's like they really be standing on business, and the Christian men do not. That's just in my opinion.
Well, it's in Muslim faith, they're about their business because they're going to hold you accountable to it, especially if you overseas. So it's I think with Christianity being more of course it's not American based, but American Christianity, right? Well, no, I'll even say European, because you got all the weird shit that the Catholics do. But again, this is where the discrepancy comes into play. Of we have to be aware that these are all human beings, and everybody sins in some way, shape, or form. Everybody is going to. You may not see it, but it's happening. So I think if you're able to remove man from the church, then that will change the expectations, if that makes sense. Because of course all men are going to fall short, but it's still, this is what is expected. And if you don't, then we're going to hold you accountable.
All right, let me get Sweeney in there. Go ahead, Sweeney.
So first and foremost, Kevin Samuels wasn't promoting women fornicating. He was talking to women who were trying to weaponize being born again virgins to get their desired results in relationships, or trying to get men to do what they wanted them to do. He will often tell them, when they said that they were Christian, he will often actually advise them to go within the church to find their man. So no, he wasn't telling. Yes, he told women who were trying to weaponize being born again virgins that you're not going to say, that's not going to work out there in the world. He told them that what you're trying to do and be on a regular regular dating world is not going to work out for you, because men are not going to wait for you. However, he always advised them, if you are serious about what you say, then go inside the church, go apart, find you a church where that puts like-minded people in the same room as you, so that you can actually, and let them help you find a husband. That was his advice to those women. But he told them, if you want to go out there, if you don't want to do that and you want things your way, that is not how it's going to work out for you. You're going to go out into the world, and what you desire is not going to come to you. So no, Tony Gaskins is absolutely wrong when he described what Kevin Samuels is doing. Now, to what Aisha was saying, but the scrutiny that he has for the pastors is exactly what he should be saying to pastors. Because what Kevin Samuels was doing, he was helping people who were trying to live in a world that's secular. You're trying to be out here and do this thing outside and do this dating thing. So this is how this is how it is out here. However, for that pastor, your word is always supposed to be what God said. There's no deviating. You're not supposed to deviate. You're not supposed to say anything otherwise. You're not supposed to give out prescriptions. This is what God tells you to do. So I agree with him when he says, if you have a pastor in a pulpit telling you it's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, or I'll fornicate. Like, if he says it as a testimony, but how he got out of it and what he did to change his life over to God and things like that, that's different from telling people that, from co-signing the behavior. That at that point, when you see a pastor going against what God, and we all know that's what God says that you're not supposed to do, yeah, you're supposed to definitely leave that church. So it, again, and I'm not even a religious person. This is just from the outside looking in. I don't get how these people are blurring the lines. You're not supposed to blur the lines.
I think that the members of the church aren't holding them accountable. I mean, I guess that's just what it is. Like, it's easier, like someone just said, it's easier to go to a church where, you're not being held accountable and everybody kind of just doing whatever. Like, oh, that's okay. Just put some offering in the offering bucket.
But I think that what is happening, that is circular. You have the church that has to try to adjust to the people, which is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people are now trying to adjust to the church.
Nope.
So if the church says something that you don't like, you want to leave the church. And I don't mean don't like as in the Bible's telling you not to do it. If, like you said, you know that your church would be empty if you told all those women that they're sinners and they're not supposed to be doing that. Your church would be empty. You wouldn't be able to keep the doorknobs on the you wouldn't be able to fix the doorknob. The pastor bucket would be empty. The collection plate would be empty.
Yeah, they'll be canceled.
Yeah, so the church is trying to adjust their message to the audience, and then the audience is trying to find a church that agrees with their message. If there wasn't a desire for these type of pastors, because that's who the audience was, these pastors wouldn't exist. That's why their churches are full of people, and the ones that you see that are hell-bent on telling people what not to do, and they stand on business and they stand on what they believe in, they're the ones that don't nobody want to go to. Those are the ones that try to deplatform. That they try to tell them, oh, you've taken it too far. You're not supposed to be that way. That's bigoted. That's wrong. You're slut shaming.
Mm-hmm.
So
One of the terms that that is abused now is how people say, well, the Bible says come as you are when you go into church. If you go to church, I don't know when the last time y'all been to church, but especially when I go to a mega church, a lot of them women ain't in there not wearing pantyhose or stockings. They in there just bare legs, dressing bare legs. And if you grew up in the traditional church, you weren't supposed to do that. Mama will stop you at the door like, baby, what you doing? But again, we can't do that because we've went through this era of feminism, of women feeling liberated. You can't tell me what to do. Only God can judge me. It's like, no, nigga, we gonna judge you too. But this is where we are now. So I've worked with many churches in the attempt to expand their reach on social media, and even just trying to get young people in the church. And it's difficult for them when they stand behind the morals and standards that was of the tradition. So yeah. Now Leah, my bad. I'm just looked in the comments. Leah, I agree. Men aren't we see people not even going to church in suits and ties. We see musicians coming in there with just regular ass clothes on. You know, there's no respect and honor to what it was, something that was supposed to be held at a high standard. Everything is blurred. I don't know who just said it, but yeah, everything is blurred now, and which is extremely dangerous. But this is what society wants. So unless we call it out and stand on it and bring back the shame and forcing people to be responsible for the decisions that they made, then it's just gonna get worse.
So, but think about it. Me or somebody else?
We're going to connect them back to you, Hank. Then
Okay.
Swing. I get Shannon that to y'all. You know, let's go Shannon, and then let's go. You can want to add anything, Shannon?
So I the whole pantyhose thing is funny to me. I don't think that's the issue. But I do think I agree. I watched Dear Future Wifey, or what it is, and it is really church based. And if you've ever gone to any podcast, it actually has like live shows in the church. And so I think you have to be careful when you are presenting yourself as like this godly person, right? The things that you talk about, because you want to your emphasis should be on the godly things, not the negative, right? Like you said, there are pastors who fornicate. They're not proud of those. That's why it's not up front. They're not boasting about it, right? But you can touch on it like, this is my issue, and go on. But it seems like those podcasts, like I like my Dear Future Wifey, or whatever it's called. It seems like there's an over emphasis on the wrong, you know, like you don't have to keep saying like, you know, you like, God is working with me. I have some issues. Everybody doesn't need to know that, because if you keep talking about it the way he's talking about it, it almost seems like you're promoting any kind of like it's okay, because you could be a godly man and be okay with doing the things that I'm doing. And you should never be sitting in okay with sinning, right? Your point is to get things off that are of God when you're using God, okay? Other than that, just don't call it that. Call it something else. And just say you do believe in God, but just don't make it of God, like the foundation of the show be of God. You understand? And that's how I understand what he was saying when he mentioned that part. I believe that when you're talking about men of other countries or other cultures, I think somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, shaming is the thing. When you got a whole country or all your people coming at you saying you're wrong for something, you tend to do more right? But when you live in America, where it's okay to do wrong, people forgive you. It's like, girl, that's normal. Or got it, you know, people patting you on the back because they call it normal. It doesn't really promote you doing right. Because I do think that if we did shame a little harder and it was a true shame, like you were cast out, you will find that a lot of people who got discipline problems go straighten up real fast, right? Because nobody wants to be shamed to the point where they're the outcast. And I think that that's where other countries get it right as it relates to, being of God. Unfortunately, we don't hold the church in high manner anymore. Before it was cool enough to just be shamed by the people you grew up with because the church like, oh, she ungodly. But everybody's so accepting now because it's the new normal. But the new normal is not necessarily of God. We could all be wrong. Normal ain't really godly because everybody believe in different stuff, right? So just take God out of it if that's how you want to move. And I think that that's what what's his name? Gaskin was trying to say. That's what I got out of it. So
I do have a question real quick for everybody.
Oh man, you gotta hold on, dog. It's my turn.
I go ahead, bro.
No, I was supposed to go before you go.
Yeah, it was Ikenay.
Okay, my bad. I'm trying to bully Sweeney, and I was bullying.
It seems like because I'm from Nigeria and I have an accent, you guys see me invincible, right? Is that what it is? In Sweeney, you always see me as invincible. And Hink is about to start doing that now. Come on, Hink.
Period.
Okay,
My bad,
let's
bro.
make this.
Here, bro.
I know. I'm just messing with you, Hink. Don't be too serious about it.
Come on.
You my brother. Okay, but let me put it this way, right? I gotta speak about their future wife before I come to Gaskin. The reason why, their future wife, that guy. I've listened to some of his show, but what the last one that JR played is a different level. The reason why I say it's a different level is this, right? This guy said he was celibate for 8 months, and then he had sex for 1 year and celibate again for 6 to 8 months. He's not serious. What he's doing is that, just like Aisha said, he's just testing women. He's just testing, and he's using people because he has access to microphone. Without access to microphone and a pulpit, he's a magnet for women, especially in the church is a big magnet for single women. And you have limitless access to what you want. So what he's doing is that he's playing the women around him. He make them feel like he wants a marriage. He goes 6 to 8 months celibate, and that is a big magnet for women. When women hear that you're celibate, they say, "Oh, he's a keeper." But then he spends 1 year ramming them through. Maybe 1 or 2 of them he rams them through, and then fall back and say, "You know what? God told me." The greatest liars on earth are people that say God told me. God never speaks to human being direct. God doesn't do that. I've been a Christian one for a long time. I'm an African traditionalist. And one thing that I know is that God never speaks to human beings direct.
What?
God usually have a visionary, a single person that he speaks to, and that person speaks to the community. Even is in the Bible, is in every culture. There is a person, an individual that is dedicated or designated by God that he speaks to, and that individual is the one that speaks to the people, and that is usually called a prophet. Nobody out there that God speaks to. So that's where the first lie comes from. And so what he's doing is that he's just using women. He's using them, ramming them through, and dumping them. So for Gaston, that guy is a big hypocrite, and also is a liar. The reason why I said that is because I've listened to some of his show. He's somebody that loves to talk, and he uses Southern accent, which is also equates to American Christianity language and rapping. Because one thing that Southern pastors do is that they use their Southern accent to rap the church. And a lot of people, when they hear that Southern accent from a pastor, they find it very attractive, and they think that those pastors are telling the truth. Kevin Samuel never said something about women having sex before marriage. just like Sweeney said, everything that Sweeney said was true. He was saying that if they're going to weaponize it, if they're not being truthful about it, if they're just trying to use it against a man, but you really want sex, what are you keeping it for? But he also encouraged women that are going through the church route, that are very, very honest with their Christianity, not to wait. What are you? That's when he says, "What are you waiting for? Why don't you just get married and then you can start? You can start reproduction. Why do you have to engage in sexual relationship and then maybe after that you change your mind or something?" So those are the encouragement that Gavin Samuel gave. So he actually encouraged women that are serious about marriage to get serious and settle down right away. You don't have to wait for 1 year. And if you want to be celibate, why are you coming with 3, 4, 5 kids and claiming to be celibate? So his what he usually espoused was that women that don't have kids and are really serious for marriage should not wait too long with a man. Why are you in a 1 year relationship with somebody before you get married? And he's using many times. He said there is a courthouse down the street. It only costs like $50 or $150 to get a marriage certificate. Why don't you just go do that? One thing I don't like in life is this. I hate it, and I hate it when people speak against the dead. Somebody that is dead, that cannot defend themselves, you have a microphone to rubbish them and say that what you said to them was what killed them. That is the lowest point of morality. That guy has no morality to say that kind of thing. That the advice that he gave to Kevin Samuel must have led to his death, or whatever issue that they had, or maybe he spoke to Kevin Samuel and then it wasn't that long ago he died. You can't attribute somebody's death to you. In a normal sense, that is spiritual murder. So is this trying to say that I murdered Kevin Samuels? That's what it sounds like. Like I gave him, I said something to him, and then he died. It's like he murdered Kevin Samuels. But because it's not a physical thing, he can get away with it. Nobody can accuse him of murder, right? Because he can't go to court for that. He can't go to jail for that. It's just there is no physical evidence to establish that. But that tells you his height of irresponsibility. And this is why I left the church. Christians don't know how to talk. Just like Aisha said, when she was in the Islamic religion, men there were more responsible. When she came to the other side, she started encountering irresponsible men. That's the same thing I've seen throughout my life. Highly irresponsible men are mostly in the church. I love my plan.
Yeah, you can't just blanketly make that statement to all Christians. There's plenty of strong black men that were in the Christian church that stood by their morals and standards. Is that what we see more often now? Yeah, for sure. But that you can, if you were to use that argument, then that would be the same as saying that all black men cheat or all black men ain't shit. That's just making a blanket statement that's clearly not true.
Well, look, let's say this. I think it was Shane was saying something about it's like bragging about. I don't have no problem with the pastors talking about things that the sins that he fell short in. I think he should. You know, if you're going to really be a true leader and example, you have to talk about where your failures is. You know, it's always good to be talking about, you know, I everyone I hit, you know what I'm saying? When I went to casino, man, I hit on that blackjack table. I hit on that roulette table. Man, I hit on this slot machine. Yeah, it's all good. But what about the times when you wasn't hitting? You going to tell us about that? No, more than likely than not. And so we need to hear about those things. I need to know your failures as well as your success so I can know if you can really relate to what you're actually preaching about. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it's something you can't relate to or you something you don't deal with or it's a problem for you, then I understand. But if it's those things that you dealt with being addicted corn, or dealt with alcoholism, or dealt with drug abuse, or domestic violence, or being a sex addict, whatever the case may be. If you dealt with those things, I think you should talk about it. You should let me know, this is what I did. These are the sins that I was involved with, that I was struggling with, that I did, that I had to go and get help, whether it was through therapy or me just, separate myself from certain individuals, going to go to AA meetings or NA meetings or sexual addiction SA meetings or whatever the case may be. They should talk about it. It's not like bragging about it or encouraging it. No, you're making people aware of those things. You know what I'm saying? When you teach your kids, you tell, I don't know, I did. When I was teaching my son on certain things I had to deal with as a young man, becoming an adult, I told him about my downfalls. I told him where I failed at. I told him where I was successful. I can't just always tell about I did everything right. He's gonna say, "Yo, Dad, you perfect. You don't never do." No, that's farthest from the truth. I had to tell him everything. When I didn't go to practice and I skipped out on practice, I had to face these consequences. When I didn't always take care of my studies, they put me on academic probation. I had to share all those things with him, so he, and hopefully perfect, he doesn't fall into the same trap. Just the same as my daughter. Now, of course, my daughter's gonna be different from me because she was a young lady and I was a man. But her mother shared those things with her and shared the downfalls that she had. And that's why I told you, I didn't want her to be a teenage father. The reason why I said that, because when I was 20, I had my daughter. I didn't want my daughter to end up in the same situation that I had to, where everything in my life had to change and be adjusted because I was really wasn't a teenage father. But in that situation, I consider myself a teenage father. So I teaching my daughter, that's not what you want to do. Your life gonna totally change when you have a child that early. I had to teach him that. Same as my son. So I have no problem with a pastor explaining himself, his sins, and where he's downfall, and the things that could happen to his members in the pulpit. Not at all. So.
Yeah, Hank, I agree with you. I think that would,
everybody else want to talk any other time. Don't just get quiet now.
Yeah, Hank, I agree with you. I think that would be a testimony though, and kind of using your life as a cautionary tale for why to do it the right way the first time. So I think that would be different versus, like, for instance, when you said that you talk to your son and be like, "Hey, look, yeah, hey, say for instance, you're talking about being on academic probation. It would be different. You saying, "Hey, look, focus on your grades now so that you don't wind up in a position that I'm in where I was on academic probation." It's totally different from telling them, "Hey, look, you can kind of squander the first semester. If you get on academic probation, they still give you an extra year to right the ship. So it's kind of, what I mean? I understand that you might mess up and all of that, but don't worry about that academic probation. It gives you another year, and here's how you can navigate. Then in that extra year, that's when you try to bounce back." That's kind of what a lot of pastors are doing, where they're trying to placate to their audience, where they're saying there is nothing wrong with what they're doing, rather than telling them, "Hey, look, I did this. It's wrong for why I did it. Here's how not to go the same route as me." So what you're saying is right. That would be basically testimony. But I did have a question for the panel though, because I kind of want to see what y'all thoughts on this. Can anybody give me an example of something degenerate that men promoted that the church accepted and changed their message to accommodate?
Something that men promoted that was degenerate and the church changed it to accommodate.
Changed their message to accommodate it.
I don't remember anything. I don't think of. I kind of have to think of one.
I've been thinking for like the last 20 minutes, like 15 minutes on it.
I could look, the way women dress, the church kind of looked past it. They there was a time where, like, I think Aisha said, they would shame a woman for coming in wearing revealing clothes. Look, men, yeah, we promoted it. We was all for it. We didn't speak against it.
We didn't promote it, just that we accepted it.
Yeah, I think
We didn't promote it. It's just that we accepted it. We didn't promote it. It was promoted by women.
By not discouraging it. If you're not discouraging, you're promoting it. You're part of the problem too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably say, and I don't know if it's, well, I guess so. I mean, I guess to Hink's point, just as we pointed out with women wearing what they wear now, I mean, men are doing the same thing. I've been to a couple churches and I've seen niggas walking there with their pants sagging, but nobody says nothing to them. I had went to a church. I was doing a funeral there, and there was this guy that walked in. I'm assuming he was homeless or whatnot, but he was standing in the walkway, and he had his hands in his pants, and his belt was like around his thighs almost. But you can clearly tell it's something he doesn't have it all. But it's men, ushers, nobody saying nothing to him, people just walking past them. And it took for me to be like, hey man, pull your pants up, bro. What you doing? You okay? Oh yeah. I'm sorry. And he adjusts himself. So I think that men have kind of took the back. I think men in the church have kind of taken a step back to being what we expect men to be in church. So I don't know if that's, I don't know how the church as a whole may have conformed to that, but I think that we do see that, or at least I do see that more often than not in some churches.
I think that the church promotes homosexuality because these choir directors are always gay. And I don't understand that. Like, to this day, I don't understand why that's okay. Like, they can't be straight. You can't find when they're straight. And he's flamboyantly gay directing the choir. I have never understood how a pastor can get on the pulpit and deliver this message, and the man that brought him on was a flaming hot Cheeto. Like, I don't understand that. In that concept, the pastor, like, this guy is literally going against everything that you are against. He's literally in the church promoting homosexuality. That's how I feel when I see him. So that's one thing that I feel like, why is that okay? Like, it literally contradicts everything.
Well, Asia, I said it earlier. They're not going to speak against it because they don't want to mess with the bottom dollar. That will mess with their bottom dollar. And another thing is, his son, his daughter's a bulldagger. That's why he ain't gonna speak against it. Because now he got to talk about his own kid. And he's not gonna go against his daughter because his wife gonna whoop his ass if he did.
Period.
Go ahead, Shan.
I think that's what's the word? I don't know. I don't think that's every church. I think that you're just in the wrong church. It may be some churches people not doing right because some people are in it for money,
Shan, ain't Atlanta, man.
Oh yeah, because let's just take Atlanta. Think about how many churches there are in Atlanta. There are some churches, like the church that I go to, I try to consider, these people live right. I mean, they go out, they go over to other countries. They live by the Bible. It's like everything in them. They're available. You wake up at 12 o'clock in the morning, you need prayer. They're available for you. They are, I just think it's the church that you choose. I think that some people like to go to churches that are happening, the popular churches. And in the popular churches, they are popular because they cater to what's popular. Sometimes what's right ain't popular, right? So I think that you have to ask yourself, why I'm in a church when clearly the things that are going in the church are not church-like or that of God. Because you're just because it says it's a church doesn't mean it's moving like a church or he's moving like a pastor. Find a pastor who moves the way you would think that God would want him to move, and then go to that church.
So,
I think Black people have
Jan, your pastors answer morning phone calls just for prayer 2 in the morning too. He answered for some other reasons.
No, my pastor, he's even talking against. Listen, when the pastor be talking against going to get a lottery ticket, you're like, dang, I can't get a lottery ticket. Great.
I can only think of one.
He wants you put in that collection plate. That's why he don't want you to
I
spend it
don't
on that
know,
lot.
God, Lord.
Come on now.
Listen, let me do 2 seconds. He even said if you win the lottery, he wants no ties of the lottery. Like he is so
I ain't gonna say he won't.
I can only think of one example. I sat here and thought about it. I can only think of one example of something that men promoted in mass that the church changed their message for. And even then, it's kind of on sketchy grounds. It's being out of the church by 12 o'clock on Sunday so that men can watch football. That's probably the only thing I can think of where the church at least kind of adhered to something that men at large promote. And the church adjusted their way of behaving, their message, the way they move in accordance with that. Outside of that, even the whole LGBT thing, that's largely a movement that's either promoted by people who are gay or women. The way that the whole come as you are thing, that is something that is largely promoted by women because for the most part, and I know Viz had an example of a dude in the church that didn't pull his pants up, but for the most part, all of us growing up know men were heavily policed about walking in the church with their pants halfway off their butt. Like
everything was policed back then. The issue is that it's not anymore now, and that goes for both sides. It's niggas walking in church smelling like weed, women walking in church smelling like weed.
Yeah, but at that point though, now we're just talking about just. All right, well, I guess if you wanted to look at it that way.
Accountability has left the check. Nobody cares. Like if
well,
you're getting
the thing is that the deacon is 70. He's 72 years old, and he don't know how to deal with these young niggas. So and then if he do say something to him, the mama is gonna come up and check the deacon. And now we got a whole issue in church.
But do the church promote it though?
You just like Hink said, if you don't say nothing, then yeah, you're promoting it. What is it? A closed mouth? Don't
get fed.
Well, no, it's something to if you don't say anything, you're going along with it, whatever that term was. I forgot. But
if you don't speak against you, to me, you for it. If you're not speaking against that type of behavior, that type of activity, then the lines, like y'all say, is blurred. I can't tell what side of the fence you're on. Are you for it or against it? When you sitting there with your hands sitting on your hands and you're not speaking against it, I'll put you on the side of for it. And so if you're for it, then you can't be with me.
But would y'all say that was because I would look at that and say that I think that by the time you started seeing all that, the church was already too far gone.
I agree.
You're already dealing with a degenerate pastor and a degenerate congregation and a degenerate. By the time you start seeing people walk in with dressed any old kind of way, the weed and all of that. But why did the church change to begin with? I don't think men were actively, because if you notice, men largely left the church. And honestly, they didn't like the reasons why men largely left the church. You don't see them trying to get us back up in there because we're far more conservative than our women are. They're not trying to pull us back in there. They cool with doing whatever. They don't outreach to the men. They get their bread from the women because everything that they do, they still can pull women in the church. But they're not trying to get us back.
Well, I think certain churches are. It just depends on where you at and what you're looking for.
I'm just saying, like on a mass, when you look at it optically across the board, I know that because they're just like you told Kene, there's definitely churches that stand on a message, but obviously we will never see that. Well, you won't see that in a public space because oftentimes they're protecting the integrity of their church. The moment you expose yourself to the internet and things like that, honestly, they do say it on the internet, but then the internet try to protect people from the church. So the churches that do say that, the churches that do stand on business, those are the ones that get silenced.
I would challenge that, Sweeney, and say, as far as with men not coming back to the church or going to church, I think that that's more so leading to what my opening statement was, is that people are running from responsibility. If you're going to church, if you're a part of a church, then you're expected to act a certain type of way, to conduct yourself in a manner. And if you know you're supposed to be in church and you don't go to church, there's a reasoning for that. You know what I'm saying? If you was raised in a church and you just refuse to go back because you want to blame what the church is or whatever the case may be, I think that's to me, that's that man running away from responsibility, in my opinion.
I think that people largely left the church because people are more informed now than they were before. I think that a large majority of our Black men don't see value in going to church and don't want to give a white man floating in the sky credit for the things that they do. I think that Black men have been more woke to know that these pastors been robbing us blind. Most of these pastors are recovering pimps. The pimp game dried up. Everybody became a pastor. And I think that people just realizing that's a bunch of BS and it's a waste of time. Like if nobody don't have to tell you to be a good person. They don't have to tell you that it's wrong to kill, shoot, and steal. You just know that already, right? So I think that the foundation of the church is flawed, and people know that. Like people are still walking around here praising the white Jesus when we all know that ain't how Jesus really looked. It's like we ignore these things, right? Like my son is 19, he's very woke, and he does not attend church because of that reason. And it has nothing to do with him being a bad person, because he's not. He follows all the rules. He's just not into Christianity. That's just not his thing, right?
But Aisha, you also stated, you also told us that he lacks discipline as well. So that strengthens my point. So
you don't have to go to church to be disciplined. That's flawed in itself.
Church, no, that's not true. Church, the scripture in church literally teaches discipline. That's what it is.
People in church aren't disciplined, right? So
that's fair. That's fair.
Right? When the
that's
church
fair. Go ahead, my bad. Go ahead.
All right, but the people in church aren't disciplined. You're telling my son to follow somebody that he sees that they're not doing the right thing, right? So if the people in the church aren't delivering the right message, like I said, these people, if you go to the brothers in the mosque, these men doing kung fu, they owning their own swords. When you go to the Christian churches, they're not doing that. They are not, these pastors, these deacons, they are not teaching these young men how to be men. I'm sorry. Just handing somebody a Bible is not teaching them how to be a man. They don't have programs. They're not doing stuff. And people, literally, my mom used to pay so many times. I used to be mad. I'm like, our life's about to get turned off. And you done gave the pastor the church anniversary $100. I just never understood that. When they ain't did the Black church itself, the majority of them did nothing for the Black community. All they did was take and hold their hand. It's not, it hasn't helped us.
Damn, they didn't even hand out turkeys.
Yeah, I can't agree with that at all. It's that
I ain't handing out a thing. And the only reason why they handing out turkeys because they get checks from the Democrats. If they weren't getting checks from the Democrats to push their message, then they sure ain't handing out no turkey, no government cheese. Ain't a thing.
Well, so I'll say that, yeah, there are definitely churches that aren't given and they're only taken. However, again, those are the false prophets that scripture tells us about. So regardless if your son is interested in finding himself in church and religion, whatever the case may be, right? You go to these places in order to find people that are like-minded. So if you're in your word and you see that these people aren't upholding to the standards of what it is that you're reading, then you go somewhere else and you find a flock that is similar to you. It's the same idea of men and women expecting to find a good man or a good woman in a piss pool, and you keep fishing in it thinking that you're going to find something better. That's not how it works. One has to seek knowledge. So that means that you have to go out and search and to find a church that fits to what it is that you're looking for. Also, the statement that I was thinking of earlier is your silence will not protect you. So if you're allowing for Daquan to walk past you with his pants sagging and he smell like weed and you don't say nothing, then you're adding on to the very effects that you don't want to see happen.
There was a time when they would walk you right out the church for that. We used to couldn't even wear pants when I was a kid. You couldn't even wear pants to the church when I was a kid. Couldn't wear pants, had on stockings.
I agree. And again, the problem is that Deacon Jones, that's 73 with a bad hip, he can't deal with that young nigga. And then that young nigga is there with his mama. And his mama is gonna snap on Deacon Jones too, and Deacon Jones' wife. So it's one of those deals of it's unfortunate that our elders have to be placed in that position, but it's due to no one stepping up and taking on the responsibility of upholding those very roles that was given there. So if we don't have men going into church to be deacons, to be elders, to be ministers, then all we can do is see the ramifications of those shortcomings.
Well, hold on. Hey, Aisha, ain't there a picture of that white Jesus you was just talking about behind you?
That's Malcolm and Martin. Don't play with me.
Okay,
we don't play games up here.
Before we get up out of here, let me just go around and just 1 minute real quick, man, and see if we got a solution for the 40 and fornicating. Go ahead, Aisha. Just a solution. Short and brief.
I mean, they already have this movement where like we're not giving it up. I think there's a number for it. I mean, ladies, if you must, join the movement. But I would say just date with intentions, right? I think that it's unrealistic to think that creatures that were put on earth to literally have sex and have kids to have this high expectation on yourself. But I think that you should reserve that for somebody that's really your person. Like, I do not think you should be 40 years old and jumping from bed to bed. I mean, HIV is still out here running rapid. And I think that a lot of us think that we're not in that age group, but it's still out there. So I think that it's very important to respect yourself as a woman. And although Cardi B and Meg keep telling y'all to go, get you a 2, 3, 4, it's not a good idea. You're not Meg, you're not Cardi. You're regular, and eventually I think that everybody wants a person. We all want love. So I think it's smart to just date and have sex with intention behind it. Not going to tell y'all not to do it because I'm not a hypocrite. But I would just say, just keep in mind, be mindful that every time you lay down with somebody, that creates a soul tie. So you automatically connected to that person, whether you think you are or not. So I just think be intentional with your choices.
All right, go ahead. You got any solutions for us for this 40 and fornicating?
Man, look, I agree with Aisha was saying. You make black man protect yourself at all times, man. Look, you can't just be out there bed hopping. And if you and if that's what you're doing, man, don't go in there naked head. Don't go in there naked head, man. You wear protection. I'm definitely encourage you to settle down with that one woman that you consider maybe somebody who you would maybe one day marry. You know what I'm saying, and make a honest woman out of her, as we used to say back in the days. But don't have a roster. You should have been at 40. You should have outgrew the roster. That mentality should have been done in your early 20s, and you should have sold your oats by then. But you still 40 trying to do that. Yeah, you a sad sack then. God damn, you need help. You need to come on to the basement and we have a different type of conversation then. But yeah, fellas, don't be out there just putting your shit out there everywhere, making all these goddamn babies, especially ones you know you can't afford. So just make sure you wear some type of protection if you are having sex with individuals, and make sure you got your paperwork in order.
All right, go ahead, Viz.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I'm probably one of the only men that'll get up here and, as Hink would so commonly say, that heifer ain't worth nothing but 20 minutes. To me, if that's all she worth, then she's not worth my time. I'm not giving her this notch on her belt to be able to say that she's had me, because you obtain no value. So I think that men, is contrary to what most women would believe. Men, you are the prize. And in order for you to be the prize, you have to not have been held or laid with multiple women. That's the only way that works. So if I think that it's the same for women. Women need to also treasure their value in allowing for a man to enter their womb. Because it's a beautiful thing that you have. And when those two things come together, you're able to create a very beautiful experience that we all can agree is extremely powerful. Because if it wasn't, then we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing now. So we have to be mindful of what it is that we're doing and how and who we're sharing ourselves with, because you do create that soul tie. You're taking on whatever that person is now a part of you, because this it's a very intimate and beautiful thing. But yeah, I think I think that if I was still dating and a woman chose and I came across a woman that said that she was abstinent,
it's supposed to be 1 minute, Viz.
I got you. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. I think that with being able to be to have that thing that you can't get, I think that adds to the anticipation of it all, right?
Get a
So
plug, Jake.
I think if a person is holding out, and once you finally get it, you appreciate it more, much rather than it just being thrown out like it's candy. So I think that's I don't see anything wrong with somebody holding out, if that's what it come down to.
Same for you too, Ikene. You know, 1 minute.
Oh man.
Hold on,
I'll
Stan,
be one, man.
you there?
Okay, your value. My dad once asked me. Oh, there was a girl that was just behind my dad, and I was just a cousin of mine. Was saying hi to her about something because I had a girl that I had to catch up with, and my dad thought I was trying to talk to that girl behind him, and he looked at me, and he was so pissed. So when the girl left, I went to meet my dad. He asked me, "What's your value?" When my dad asked me that question, that was 1999. I never forgot it. What he told me was that a man has a value. The woman that a man sleeps with can increase or decrease his value. So you got to be mindful who you sleep with as a man. Just like a woman too. The man you sleep with can increase or decrease your value. You have to know your value. Then number two, for women that are 40 years old, if you're 40 and you've never been married, I don't really have any pity for you. Because number one, you should have. He says a lot about character. I have no advice for you at all. But if you are younger than 25, what I got to say to you is this: be careful out there. Don't sleep with any man thinking that sex is all the man needs. Thinking that a man will value you for giving him sex. No, if you give a man sex and he doesn't value you, he will never value you. If you give him sex and he values you, he will marry you.
All right. Good job, Ikene. Right on cue. Go ahead, Sweeney.
This, if I had to say what is a solution for this, I would say if you're secular, then what everybody just said before me is absolutely correct. Protect yourself at all times, date with intentions, all that, yada, yada, yada. But if you're going to call yourself Christian, and you're saying that you're Christian, there's rules already in place for you. There's already solutions in place for you. If you are calling yourself a Christian and you're saying this is what you want to do, there's a guideline that is already in place for you, and it's very strict on what you should and shouldn't be doing. So if that's what you want to do, there's a rule book. But if you're secular and you live in the world and you fly by the seat of your pants, then everything that everybody just said before me is absolutely 100% accurate.
All right, Shane, you there? Shane on there? Well, maybe not. All right, I'll go ahead and say something. I think that it's always consequences for what we do in life. So I think that we got to factor it in, whether it be positive or negative. There's always a consequence. I think we do have to consider others as well. I think once we get older and we know better, then shame on you. You know, when you know that you are intentionally doing the wrong thing, then shame on you. So I think we have to do a better job at policing ourselves and implement a little bit more discipline. And we got to consider others. Anytime you involve somebody else, then I think it's your responsibility as far as how you contribute to that relationship. Now, if you're doing something else on your own, then it's on you. You're not affecting anybody else. I think we do have to factor in the kids and the youth. I think that's very important. I think that we are all grown folks. So if we're going to be doing what we're doing and it's not the right thing, then make sure that the people behind you, whether it be your kids or the people you may be mentoring, make sure that they're doing the right thing. But one thing I can say is that it is easier for you to be able to teach people who look up to you or who are under you when you are leading by example. I think it makes your job a lot easier as far as the message that you're trying to push. And we all make mistakes. We all human. We have all sinned. I don't know a perfect man on earth. Nevertheless, never met anybody. But I do think it's our job that we have to start bettering ourselves. Sometimes people don't grasp it quicker than others, but just try to get to the point where you want to do better, where you seek to do better. I know I'm on my healing journey. What the hell is the seven chakras? What the fuck is that? I'm trying to do better. What is that? I heard that on Pop the Balloon. This guy said something.
I don't like to disrespect people's beliefs systems and stuff like that, so I'm gonna remain silent on it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I was just being funny, man. But shout out to people on their spiritual journeys and their healing journeys. But
that's right.
The objective in life should just be able to do better. You know, whatever it may look like. Just look at every aspect of your life, even when it comes down to littering, even when it comes down to cursing your children out, even when it comes down to you having to exercise discipline when you are put into them situations. Just do better. It's easy for you to speak on something if you didn't damage it. So just be mindful and conscious, a little bit more self-aware, and I think we'll be all good. With that being said, let me go ahead and get to these super chats so we can get up out of here. I know y'all got some football to watch.
Now you sound like the church pastor.
Biblical Movement 999 responded to Aisha, that's not true. Fornication does not mean sex before marriage. That's why I mentioned to use a strong concordance. Religion has miseducated us. Adonis 1909 $10 says widows used to stay celibate until married again or death. Today they divorce and no different than the Jezebels in the Bible. Kaya spoke to the Jezebels who followed their feelings and left a marriage. Adonis 1909 $10. I remember when KS spoke to a woman who was respectful, he did not tell them to sleep with a guy, but to understand the wrong man would test her. And if she brings the value to stay her course. Me University $2 says, yeah, Shan, wise pastors treat you like sheep. #weak. Shout out to $50, big money. Thank you, JR. Letting them talk it through. Good panel, Aisha and Shan. Thank you, ladies, for having the conversation. And lastly, AP again, $5 says it's not critical to teach someone the right way because you know all the wrong ways. Please learn from your mistakes. Information can be good, but not everybody's going to be accurate or you're going to 100% agree with it. Just try to have an open mind. Even in your relationships, have an open mind to at least be able to digest the information and process it to see if it can help you, if it's valuable, or if it's no good. But you got to be able to listen. So practice listening more than you speak. And the person feels value when you're able to listen to something they're saying and ask them questions about it. That's how you kind of keep the conversation going. So let's do a better job at listening and at least understanding that we are all different and we all have a different lens on what we've seen growing up and our outlook on life. And you can learn from folks. You can learn, but you got to have an open mind. So with that being said, whoever you speak to today had an open mind. If you've been arguing, nothing wrong with apologizing if you was wrong. You know, you don't have to be right about every part of the if you're wrong about one thing, you could have, and you lead that disagreement and say, is there something I could have done better? Just apologize. You know, like my bad for elevating my tone a little bit. You know what? I shouldn't have just walked out. You know what? I shouldn't have broke that door. You know, my bad. You know, I'll go ahead and see if I can get that replaced because some of y'all out here be crashing out. Hit that like button. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Catch us on